welcome one and all.
Hooray!
Let's go ahead and start over then. Everyone, we're going to go around. You can say a little bit about who you are and what you're excited for today. Let's go with VideoStoreCowboy again.
My name's Johnny, and I play everything else in this game, and that's just about it.
Yep. Awesome. And Trendane again.
Yeah. What? Oh, hi. Yeah, that would be how I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Good.
Okay. Good. Yeah. You've already screwed it up. You said we were going to go back and do it all over again. By this point, last time we were already talking like this. Talking about that's okay.
I'm sorry.
We'll just swing it. Whatever. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Are we going down and then back over?
We're gonna go, around.
Okay, so it is around.
Yeah.
Okay, so that means now we're going down to Madame Gandalf, right below me down here.
Sure. Oh. Yeah. Let's go to you. Say hi.
Hello, I am Madame Gandalf. I will be playing Aryava Ari Surana. And I look forward to being your local slide.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm excited to see how she fares. And Owlbare.
Hi, I'm Owlbare. My name is actually Joff. A lot of you folks might know me from Twitter, and that's about it. I'll be playing Grin, who is a 40-something cutter, and I really miss Moon.
Excellent.
R.I.P.
Pulling at the heartstrings already.
And hi, Louise, I suppose.
Hello. Well, I mean, if you must get to it, I suppose. I suppose I'll say
I've already said hi to everyone else. I suppose now.
Peer pressure.
Just have to take turns,
If I absolutely must talk about myself, I will. Louise, you might know me from Encounter Roleplay over on Tuesdays. Fun times with the Speedo over there. We have a great time, and I'm having a great time here. And yeah, R.I.P. Moon. He will be missed greatly. And I'm sure
we won't miss him that much. Dude kept offering tea.
I'm sure our previous actions will not come back to haunt us in any way.
Oh, haunt.
Nothing will go wrong.
Yeah.
Ever.
All right. Yeah. Thanks. Let's I suppose Johnny. Let's turn things over to you for a little bit. You can tell us a little bit more about Blades and how what we've done so far.
Honestly, all I remember is Moon's dead, and I'm just really sad, and I can't get over the fact that somebody murdered Moon. I'm feeling you, Grin. So Blades in the Dark is it's loosely based off the Powered by the Apocalypse style of games. The tabletop RPGs. The world is an incredibly dark place. There is a sun, but you never really see it. The world's basically in perpetual darkness, and the crew that you find around this table here are adventuring through the city of Dosquil, which is essentially one of the larger locations inside of what is essentially a very small country at this point, because there was a cataclysm about 1,000 years ago that changed the face of the world and brought perpetual darkness, etc., etc. And we'll establish more of the mood and stuff like that as we're continuing to go along. But so from what happened last week was session 1. Last week was Sky walking around, introducing himself and saying, "Hi, how you doing?" and creating contracts with just pretty much everybody around the table besides Moon, who ironically is not here tonight. Imagine that.
Maybe.
Okay, all right. Well, we can get into that backstory at some point, because for anybody who missed last week, we also rolled a fortune roll to find out what happened to Moon, whether he rose from the dead or not. And guess what? He did. So, anyways, after you guys did your introductions, sorry about the dog. After you guys did your introductions, you jumped right in and started your first score, and you wanted to plant some information at the headquarters of the Foghounds due to a letter that it was Hocus who actually delivered to you guys from the Dimmer Sisters, thanking you for your services from the one-shot that Sky and Moon and another character by the name of Muscles was a part of. So from there, you all kind of just, thought that it would be or I think it was maybe Sky and Moon who was really kind of riffing on this and figuring out a way to kind of misdirect, because Hocus had brought you a rumor that the Bluecoats were actually looking for Moon at that point. So this whole score was all about misdirection and in invading the HQ of the Foghounds, which you did successfully, and you all escaped successfully, except for Grin's heart and Moon's, existence. So, and I think that's pretty much where we left off, and then we ended the score, and then it was done. And now it would be time for to do essentially the downtime and payoff.
Yeah.
So. One thing that typically happens, I'll jump to this real briefly, and then we can talk about it more as we kind of go. Typically, at the end of a session, we would do XP allotment, which, if you guys read the rules, you guys actually track and stay on top of, and then we just have a kind of a discussion at the end, just kind of verify it. But it really is on you as players to tell me, the person running everything else, what it is that how your characters advance and how their experience went. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and jump right into essentially downtime. And downtime is the third phase of a typical Blade session or game where you get payoff from the score. You get you evaluate how much heat you guys actually earned, which determines your wanted level long term. And then you move into downtime activities, which include things like research, exploiting your vice, and doing other activities like reducing your heat, of which we'll go through, and each player will get a chance to kind of do something there, even if they're not doing something like indulging their vice and reducing their stress. And then we'll move back into essentially free play, which is where you guys kind of figure out your next score. So let's go ahead and get started. Who wants to go? Actually, I'm sorry. Let me stop that for a second and say, let's talk about payoff. So with payoff, it came down to you guys were attacking a faction of a higher rep than you. So you guys are a faction. You're essentially a 0-tier faction at this point.
Yeah.
So you're making your waves in the world. So each score you earn 2 reputation by default, or 2 rep by default. But because you guys attacked the Foghounds, which was a tier 1 rep, you guys gain an additional rep specifically for that, and that gets recorded on your crew sheet.
Right. Additionally, because of a crew ability that we took, whenever we gain rep, we gain +1 rep.
Okay.
Because we supplied drugs or vices for all of the other factions, or several other factions. So our success is good for them. So anytime that we succeed at something, they are happy about it. They start to recognize us a little bit more.
Absolutely.
So that means we're up to 422 rep then. Okay.
Okay, so that means that you guys earned 4 rep in your first score, which is pretty brilliant if you think about it. So let's talk about the type of operation that this was, or type of score that this was in reflection to the type of coin that you're going to earn. The minimum is 2, and there are factors that play into you getting more, like crew upgrades. I believe there are a couple of abilities, special abilities out there that also help in those particular situations. But does anybody really feel like this is anything bigger than a minor score? I mean, did you accomplish what you were doing, but you weren't really kind of shutting things down for them? You weren't struggling. It wasn't like a big conflict of struggle of some kind. Yeah.
With that, we caused a bit of chaos in their ranks of the Foghounds by infiltrating them. They sounded the alarm. There was a dead kid left there and a dead Moon, but not too much happened. I think one thing worth mentioning: Moon had taken like a bunch of like papers and stuff.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest, actually, whether it was via a flashback or whatnot, when Sky's back was turned, Grin was going to swipe what Moon had pocketed. And that, I don't know if that might increase our score, depending on the information there.
Oh, okay. That's okay. So there's a couple things going on there. This is really interesting. Okay. First things first. We've got a situation where okay. Cool.
Well,
So you guys, Moon actually grabbed a significant amount of information off of this essentially planning table that was inside of the Foghound's headquarters on top of a map, which he couldn't steal in the time frame. At least he didn't believe so. So that, yes, you definitely, if that's what you guys want to do, I'm not going to suggest that it's a flashback or anything because you're out of the score. It's the kind of thing where I would have assumed that at least one of you would have who has been aware of it. So I would have assumed regardless that Grin was going to grab it. But what Grin just said was interesting, which is the nuance to it, which is he grabs it and Sky's not looking. Right. So
because Sky didn't know what Moon had done. In the room
when you took him.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what's the intent there? I'm really curious. Is it what's going on?
If I remember correctly, I was watching the door. I wasn't necessarily aware what was going on, but I could see the map table, I could see the documents, and I could see what Moon was doing. So I believe I have enough motivation to want to grab it and take it with me, and then look at it myself and determine what it is, what was so important. And also, I hate the Foghounds. Grin, I wrote it into his bio. He has a history with them. They've crossed paths while Grin was dabbling in smuggling himself. So anything he can do to scupper them, and this is also why he was so keen to run this score, anything he can do to just give it to them, he's gonna. So he sees an opportunity by taking these notes, and given what he just witnessed Sky do to a kid, he's not inclined at this time to share anything with Sky. It doesn't break contract to withhold information.
He's technically right.
You're muted, Johnny.
Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's also interesting because that's the intricacies of the contract I think are definitely going to come up. I'm very curious to see. So what you basically got was a satchel full of information, or a jumble of information. I'm going to assume that you just kind of pocket that and threw it under your coats.
Yeah.
And then left with Sky at that point. So you have that. Go ahead and mark it in your notes somewhere. I'll note it as well, just to make sure that you have it.
Perfect.
Okay, so with that in mind, going back to the coin, given the circumstances, even though you're not aware of it, Sky, I think that there is a definite growth in value there. I think that's like grabbing a strongbox, basically full of information, but it's like strongbox. So I'm going to say you guys earn 4 coin. From this, unless anybody has any arguments why that doesn't make sense.
Makes sense to me.
Okay. All right. I'm just trying to clarify, the circumstances here. All right. So that's your payoff. So that's 4 reputation, 3 coming from the tier, the 2 by the default, 1 from the additional tier that the Foghounds were. And then there's the additional 1 coming from Sky's the crew ability. I'm sorry, It's the crew upgrade. Okay, now there's 4 coin coming because you guys ripped off essentially a strong box full of information, which is of greater value than just committing a score. And just so you get an idea of what coin, where the coin is coming from in a heist or a score where it's not necessarily obvious. It doesn't necessarily mean that your score specifically generated that coin, but it's from all of your business interests as a crew, basically kind of just culminating in a result that happens kind of at the same time that you commit this score, regardless of the outcome or the value of the score, in a positive sense. If you guys decided to abandon the score for whatever reason, then of course you would not get coin and you would not get rep for that, or you might even get negative rep for abandoning the score. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about heat.
What?
I just heard myself back. It was like a weird echo.
Yeah, just because we wouldn't get coin. That's fine. You don't have to tell us twice.
I'm sorry. I need to reinforce the point. God damn it. All right. Let's talk about heat. So this isn't a high profile or, well-connected target. This is a tier 1 group. They're on the outs. They're clearly looking for a patron. So no. This did, however, happen on hostile turf. So I'm definitely going to say that you're going to get at least 1 heat because of that, right? Going into the docks,
Right.
you were essentially in the Foghound's territory, in their base, their HQ. So yes, there's going to be at least 1 heat for that. And because there was a little bit of murder involved, there's going to be a little bit more heat. So that's going to be an additional 2. So you're going to have 3 heat after this.
Ooh.
Now, there was a conversation that was going on privately in Discord where we were talking about the fact of, Ari coming on board and her possibly reducing some of that heat. We can deal with that in downtime and use that as the downtime action to reduce that heat there. And we can use that as the backstory for why the heat is being reduced. Like, she's bringing you the information, and that is a perfect introduction for her particular character. So
Yeah.
We'll talk about that as we get to downtime specifically. 3 heat is what you guys come away with, which leads us into entanglements. Now, after a payoff, we roll a dice roll equal to your wanted level, and then read the results, according to your heat. Now, last night in the same situation, the Shroud did not have a wanted level, but we rolled a single die because that is the basic representation of it. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to jump over into the screen, and I'm just going to roll a 1d6, and let's see what happens. 1d6.
No. Oh.
Okay, so you guys got the same thing that they got last night. So this is essentially either gang trouble or the usual suspects. Gang trouble basically is if you've got a gang or an associated set of cohorts, they get into a situation because of their flaw. You will then have to either lose rep based on your tier level +1, or you're going to have to make an example of the gang member, which means, essentially you can murder, you can, beat the hell out of them, you can send them away, abandon them, or whatever. It doesn't at this point. That's a really good idea, actually. I didn't think about that when describing this. This is a really good idea. Wow. Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll just call it that. So the entanglement really doesn't affect you because you've already murdered one of your crew, and he is no longer. Yeah, you've taken care of the problem. So Moon's insolence and his shenanigans earned him the wrath that he got, and he has taken away the entanglement. So
Well, not just that. There's also the fact that now it looks like he was the one who was planting the letter, which he was, which has been scrubbed. So the only people whose spectral essences are on it would be mine and his. And I already showed up at the door saying I was delivering a letter. So everything's covered from all angles.
So really, we're genius.
Brynn, do you want to say something about that?
Full disclosure, I made the mistake of touching the letter.
They
I
don't need
touched
to
the
know.
letter.
Yeah, well, who's gonna look at the spectral essence of a letter, anyways, right?
Just saying, it's got my print.
I'm your whisper. I would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure the Foghounds don't have one of those, though, right?
I'm sure you're the only one in the city. I think we're
Blue
fine.
coats might, and that is who we wanted to find it, was the blue coats. So
We'll just kill him as well. We'll just murder
all
everybody.
right, we'll just murder our way through the blue coats.
It's not a bad plan. It's
Dude,
flawed, but it's not a bad plan.
It worked last time, all right?
Imagine
Absolutely.
having the blue coats in your pocket. What a way to rule the city.
Oh no, they are.
They're meanies.
Well, I don't mind that so much. It's just no.
Start my long time clock. Get on the side of the blue coat.
It's a 62 slice clock.
Shall we introduce that clock for you? Shall I put it on the screen? Okay, so essentially, you guys have gotten through payoff. You've received your heat. You've dealt with your entanglements, which it was a beautiful thought, by the way, Sky. I think that was kind of brilliant. And now we're going to call it downtime, and with your opportunity to do a number of things. Now, so in downtime, just like in score, you have to take a particular action. It's typically considered a downtime action of some kind. And those are generally very specific to a sort of set of circumstances. So, for example, you can acquire an asset. You can do a long-term project. If you've got any harm that's been done to you, you can recover from it. You can reduce the heat, which is, I think, something that Sky's going to want to do with the 3 heat that you guys have received. You can train, which means that you can generate XP for a particular attribute on your playbook, or you can generate a 1 XP for the general playbook, so that you can just throw that in, for the next time, or you can indulge your vice. Now, in the case of indulging your vice, for those of you who do have any stress at all, I will tell you to think very carefully about it when you have a very little amount of stress. And the reason is because you can do something called overindulgence. And when you overindulge your vice, you attract attention, and that can cause challenges. So, just as an FYI.
Oh, that means no drugs. That's really upsetting.
That means no ultramorphine. No ultramorphine.
So you can do drugs and I would assume that that's part of your normal thing. Like, for example, Hocus's daily meditation ritual. The difference is that when you're indulging your vice, there's a specific result that you're trying to get from it, which is reducing your stress, which is important.
Okay.
But
so I can just do drugs and not have to worry about stress.
Yes.
Is that what you'll say?
Yeah, exactly. You can be strung out on drugs anytime you want.
Perfect.
Excellent.
So long as you're not so strung out that you're holding your rifle backwards while you're trying to shoot things for us.
Yes, that would have been bad during the last score, wouldn't
it? Why isn't it shooting?
My scope is really dark. You're looking down the barrel, honey. Turn it around there.
All right. So who wants to go first in downtime?
I suppose I'll go first.
Okay, so just to be very clear about the downtime actions as well, you get 2 of them by default per downtime session or downtime phase. If you want more, you can take more. If you have to spend 1 coin or 1 rep to use that additional downtime, though, during that phase. So just kind of an FYI. So what do you want to do first, Sky?
First thing I want to do is try and reduce our heat.
Okay.
And the way I'd want to do that is, part of who we're trying to avoid the attention of is, the blue coats and the circle of flame. They were a little bit hot on us before, and I want to, knowing that we are smugglers, that we're people who deal in these vices. We've got connections to vice dens all throughout Duskfall. I would want to kind of reach out to several of my connections there. And basically say to them, or try and figure out if any of them know anything from any of their patrons about what happened there, and then also say that tell them that any bluecoats who come through here, tell them that their supplier would prefer if they would stop investigating these reports by the Foghounds.
Okay, so the first part sounds like information gathering, like if you to understand the level or the detail of which what's being told on the street essentially from the Foghounds, and the second half is that you want to spread misinformation on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to treat those as the 2 actions? Do you want to just go ahead and skip to the spreading misinformation and then take the free during the free play, gathering more information to find out about what everybody knows about essentially what the Phantom just did?
Yeah, I suppose that's something I can do during free play instead of.
Yeah, because I'm making that suggestion so that you don't you take advantage of downtime's very specific types of actions, right?
Yeah.
let me give you guys the page number in the book just again so you guys can take a look at it if you need to. It is page 154 in the PDF and 146 in the book. So if you guys want to take a look at the additional stuff, that it's there. But so going back to you, so the first thing you're going to do is spread misinformation. So what type of action are you going to use to do that?
That would be reduce heat.
No. Yeah.
Or,
so you're reducing heat, but you have to take one of your actions off of your sheet specifically to go through that.
okay.
So you need so are you doing it as a sway?
Oh, I'll be doing that as a consort using my connections throughout the vice dens and things.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So okay, let's go ahead and start that and go through that process. So go ahead and click on your consort on your character sheet, and then position wise, because you don't have a wanted level. And because you don't have a lot of heat, I would assume that this is actually a pretty controlled situation for you. Mm-hmm. I'm willing to hear otherwise, but to me that sounds about right.
Yeah, these are people I've got good connections with. It's there's nothing desperate about that.
Absolutely.
As for effects, standard, maybe limited.
I could see arguments both ways, given the fact that how much you don't actually know, but that you will be reducing you're just essentially taking an opportunity to reduce heat and you're just spreading misinformation. I could see the effect being limited. However, again, it's I'm also okay with it being standard because, again, you're in a controlled situation, so you have a lot more opportunity to get that information out there without, and again, your wanted level and your heat. You guys are in the perfect position right now to do heat reduction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll go with, I suppose, standard. Is there actually or remind me, for downtime actions, can I do something to increase rep during downtime?
Can you increase rep? Not according to what I'm reading right here. Okay. I do not think that there's an opportunity to do that because rep is directly tied to your actions in a score.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and roll this as limited.
Okay.
And do I get any bonus dice? Could I say I have bonus dice because of connections I have?
You can use like a friend or a consort of some kind. Or,
yeah, I have a friend in the Hive, Karth Oris.
Okay, go ahead and add 1 die for that.
Yeah. 6.
So with a 6, you basically reduce it to 0 because a 6 represents 3. So the way that this works is you roll the dice, and then the values, of course, the 6 being success. 4 or 5 being moderate success, and 1 through 3 being a failure. In this particular case, 1 through 3 represents a 1. 4 or 5 represents a 2, and then 6 represents a 3. And if you got a crit, it would have represented a 5. So, so yeah, you reduce your heat back to 0. That's a good roll.
Nice. Who needs heat?
All right. So the information starts to kind of spread out there that you sort of plant, and your friend at the Hive begins to kind of help you as well. And through the vice dens that you supply, or the things, the information starts to kind of spread. Is there any particular direction that you want to send the heat? Because if the Foghounds are looking for you for whatever reason, you already implicated the Demmer sisters, correct? Wasn't that?
I think we kind of just implicated Sky.
Okay.
We might have also implicated the Demmer sisters. I guess combination of both.
Okay, so we're just going to call it. It's just generic. We're not going to say very specific. If you guys had targeted them, with misdirection at one point for something else, then yeah. So that information just kind of spreads to the city, and as that information begins to spread, your heat is reduced, and the conversation about that particular score dies down very quickly.
Cool.
Okay, so that's your first downtime action. What's your second downtime action, if any?
I'm going to say I want to start a long-term project, which is finding out what the Dimmer sisters were doing with that girl.
Oh, okay.
Because I think before, Sky, when he found out that, when the girl said, like, your sister isn't happy with you, his immediate reaction was like, screw this girl, and just like knock her out, return to the Dimmer Sisters. But it's been nagging at him. Just the thought that maybe she wasn't just lying or something, that maybe she actually does know something. And so he just kind of wants to learn, like, what were the Dimmer Sisters doing with this girl and what kind of powers does she really have? And probably doing this by, you know, using his connections at Vice Dens for anyone who just to, you know, hear whispers of anyone who's, you know, been in contact with the Dimmer Sisters, see what they've been up to.
Interesting. Okay. So you're going to start through the Vice Dens, and the intent is to understand, and the expected result is knowledge,
Yes.
generic knowledge, or specific knowledge about what they did with this particular girl.
Specific knowledge of what they did with this particular girl.
Okay. Okay. So let's pick a trait. And let's start with that particular trait as a determination for how you're going to go about doing this. So is this going to be a consort?
Always consort.
It's always going to be consort. Okay.
Pretty much.
All
That's
right,
my best score, so.
Okay. So I'm going to put a progress clock, okay, on the table. And that's going to have... I'll label it in just a second after we get through this roll. But it's going to be a daunting or 8-position progress clock.
Okay.
So you're just going to go ahead and roll this, and we'll call this in a controlled with a limited effect, because long-term projects really just worry about the trait that's being rolled. They don't. Rereading this, I handled this a bit wrong last night, so it really is just about the value that you roll at the end of the you know, whatever the highest value is for the trait. So
Okay.
just go ahead and roll that, and then we'll walk through that, what happens with that initial inquiry.
All right. Can I use another bonus dice for my friend?
You've used him once in a downtime action, so
Okay, fine.
we'll call that for next time.
6 still.
6. Very good. Okay, so first things first, let me advance the progress. 3. All right, so as you begin to kind of feel your way around the various Vice Dens that you supply, you start to have conversations about the Dimmer Sisters just generally, but I imagine that your approach is subtle, or, you know, really kind of just hitting it from the side, so that you're not directly mentioning the Dimmer Sisters, and you're not directly mentioning the trafficking of essentially children as either slaves, consorts, however they're being used. But you start hitting it from the sides, just kind of having a general conversation about children being used in occult practices and means and that kind of a thing. The first thing that you discover is that it is more common than you think, and that the places like the Circle of Flame, the Dimmer Sisters, there's a couple other factions. Let me list them for you. There are a number of factions or organizations that make use of children in their work. So it's not as uncommon as you would think, and so that's going to make your inquiry just a little bit more difficult in that respect. So the other organizations that would be using it, besides the let's see, I said the Dimmer Sisters and the Circle of Flame, would also be the Path of Echoes. And
Damn, a lot of people dealing in children.
This kind of throws you off a little bit when you hear this, but the Spirit Wardens.
Spirit Wardens being who again?
Spirit Wardens are the ones that collect the bodies and make sure that they don't rise.
What? What are they doing with children?
Yeah, makes you a little bit uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I mean,
so
this guy's
as
not
you're
uncomfortable with anything. Interesting.
well, okay, So Sky finds that incredibly interesting. It's more information for him to be able to use to his advantage at some point. So the second piece of information that you find in this whole inquiry, as you look, you dig deeper into the conversation, as you kind of gently just direct it towards the Demmer sisters, you find out that they have a particular interest in children that are coming from out of the city, that that they're smuggled in as a part of the whole either slavery ring or human trafficking kind of a thing, but they are brought in from out of the city, and that the Demmer sisters are very particular about wanting children that are not born in Dulsquall. So they wouldn't be going after the lost, the little tykes and the little street urchins that are kind of around the city. They want children that are from away.
Easier to hide. Let's trace.
Which then explains the third thing as to why the Circle of Flame and the Greycoats were working for them, or working for the Greycoats were working for the Circle of Flame. When you acquired the girl from the Circle of Flame, there appears to be keen interest, just in general, in this particular child, as being a member of a family. And you don't get a name from it, but there's a member. She's a member of a family of 3 young girls, and she was the eldest.
Interesting. All right. We'll talk that
How old was
away
she?
in my knowledge.
This young woman was, I believe, 12, was what we said in the. She, for meta purposes, the girl exhibited behavior like a whisper, Hocus. But so Speedy, Sky, that's the information that you get, that there seems to be keen interest all around by a number of different groups as a part of the city. In this particular case, the Demmer sisters are looking for children that are coming from away from the city, and the Circle of Flame wanted them specifically because this girl was one of 3 girls in a particular family.
Interesting. All right. I'll keep that for later. We can move on to the other downtimes. I know I want to get Madam.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So just for reference, this screen will contain all of your progress clocks, or this table will contain all of your progress clocks, and I will label it and make sure that it's clearly noted who's got what and what have you. But this stuff will persist from session to session until it gets cleared, and then it'll be pulled off, and maybe it leads to another progress clock, because certain progress clocks can be linked. So just as an FYI, we'll be tracking all that stuff here. Okay, who's next?
Mine will probably be pretty quick.
Okay. What's up, Hocus?
He's going home. He's going back to his apartment to sit down, still his mind. He has never been shot at before. He knows she wasn't shooting at him, but he's a little freaked out right now. And
Okay.
he just wants to go home, sit down in the quiet, and not think too much for a while.
Okay. So what are you just basically just taking your downtime and just, but are you doing any particular downtime action here?
Not really. The only other thing that might happen is that on his way home, as he's walking back to his just sodden little basement level apartment, that a message would be carried along in a breeze, and just kind of, as the card blows through, it would stick in his jacket, like it was trying to go into his pocket, and then pull it out and read it, and it was the message that was sent to him.
Okay. So what you're saying is that you don't have any interest in taking any downtime action at all, though?
Not really. He just wants to go sit where it's quiet and just.
Okay. Can I make a suggestion then?
No. Yes, of course you can.
My suggestion would be that you either start a long-term project or you do some training, because this is a perfect opportunity when you don't have any pressing need like indulgence of a vice, or you need to recover from harm. This is a perfect opportunity for you to generate 2 XP if you're going to train 2 times,
Okay.
or or start a long-term project, which might be some piece of information that would help Hocus address the situation that he's dealing with. So
yeah, in that case, he will actually probably start working on the message, trying to help deal with that, because he doesn't know that he doesn't know what's happened. He just knows that he got the message. So he would probably head for after kind of getting home and having a glass of tea.
you're still beat over that tea, huh?
Yeah. Well, he would probably have a glass of tea, settle his nerves, then go to the office where he usually picks up the messages that he's out on his rounds, and then start asking the other couriers if anybody knows anything about the stuff in the message that he received.
And you're specifically talking about the message that you received from.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Shit. Let me pull that up.
I know. Remember when I said it was going to be quick? Maybe.
Yeah. Well, so that's okay. I mean, that's the whole point of downtime, right? Because you're starting a long-term project here. It's important. Where the hell did I put it? I think I put it in Scrivener. Okay. Dale Coral. Okay. All right. So sure, I think that this is a perfect opportunity to create a to be able to support that inquiry. I think this is probably a 4 position, so a complex progress clock. How or what action are you going to take specifically to in your inquiry as you're kind of listening and having a conversation with the other couriers?
Well, since he doesn't know about their progress thus far,
okay,
he would just go to his fellow couriers and ask if any of them have had, especially the ones that go to
6 towers.
6 towers.
Yeah.
Wait, is it where the university is?
Oh no, the Charter Hall. Charter Hall is located all across, right?
Yeah. So any of them who would have that as part of their normal route, who would add letters intended to be delivered to Professor Valen, who either couldn't because he wasn't there, or had been told, anything about, well, we can keep them for him, but they're starting to stack up. Basically anybody who's had messages for him that were unable to deliver them because he's missing.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, and so what's the specific action you're going to use for that? Consort, sway?
It would probably be, doesn't really make much difference since I've got the same amount in both things. Probably consort then.
Okay, let me double check and look at your character sheet really quickly.
I think I may have misdone the thing, because like Tinker, the only reason I have 2 pips in that is because I'm thinking of him making rope all the time, and I think I didn't understand what it was for.
So you are more than welcome to make a change there if you need to, and we can talk about that either real quickly here. Yeah, or we can do it off, because I've got to work with Lisa on her character sheet, so we can do that at some other point.
Yeah.
So okay, so why don't you go ahead and roll your consort.
Roll a consort then.
And calling this a long-term project, so it's just going to be controlled limited is the
limited.
And then go ahead and just roll that.
This is where last week everybody in my crew was doing brilliantly, rolling 6s and 5s and stuff, and I rolled double 3s. Watch this. No bonus dice.
Oh, okay. It didn't appear for me for just a second there. That's interesting. Okay, so 4-5. That is going to be a movement of 2 on your progress clock.
Halfway there.
So it's better than I thought.
Which is what isn't bad. So okay, information that you get as you're kind of running around, or listening to the conversation and kind of digging into the details. According to one courier who is one of the more brave ones, who spends a lot of time in Crow's Feet, I believe is the district that it's called. He has heard a lot about an interest in demonologists and people with demonology knowledge being sought after and being held by a couple of the gangs that are currently operating in there as a way to earn coin to support the bloody conflict that is going on in Crow's Feet right now. Because as of right now, Crow's Feet is dealing with essentially 3 gangs that are trying to fight over the same turf. And it's the Red Sashes are one of the names that are dropped specifically for that information. And there was a heist very recently, or a score very recently, that involved a couple of individuals taken from Charter Hall, one of them being Professor Valen, another one being Professor, we'll call him Torin. And Professor Torin happened to be essentially where there's demonology, specifically in the study of demons and demon scripture and demon lore. This person Professor Torin was directly related to all the things that are connected to that, which are things like spirituality and the sciences portion of it. Where Professor Valen is the theory, Professor Torin is all the practical application of all of that. Things like, Leviathan hunting, ectoplasmic, refinement, that kind of a thing. This not being an uncommon situation because, Charter Hall is essentially the trade school version for Dulskval. So that's the first piece of information you get. The second piece of information that you get directly relates to a situation where it looks like, because of the work that the Red Sashes are doing in these snatch and grab jobs, they tend to be winning the war in Crow's Feet right now. They can be taking serious damage because of all the coin that you're generating, and it's making them bold and also lax in their security.
Okay.
All right. So that's a long-term project. So that's your first downtime action. You want to take another one?
Yeah, the other thing that Hocus is very bothered by his not poor performance, but poor performance at the door to the warehouse.
Okay.
The fact that the guys didn't believe him, so he's just going over and over and over again in his mind, why didn't they believe me? Why was I unable to convince them when the evidence was so clear that that's exactly what I would have been there for?
Right.
And so I guess that would be a training thing.
So you're mentally reevaluating the situation and trying to learn from your experience and dealing with that. Okay.
Right.
And then you want to, and it sounds like what you're doing is you're trying to train your resolve.
Yes.
Okay. So from that downtime action, you generate 1 resolve, and where you put that is you put that directly into one of the lines or one of the pips right next to the resolve on the character screen. So just as a note, so you get 1 XP.
Right above the word attune.
Right above the word attune, right where you just put it, as I'm looking at your character sheet. Excellent.
Uh-oh, I didn't realize you were watching me. It's okay. Let's go.
All right, since Grin is gone, we're going to move on to Sling. Sling, what would you like to do for your downtime?
Firstly, I'd probably be, pretty peeved off that the man I just sort of saved has just walked off and, not even said thank you. Bit annoying. But you know what? She's used to being underappreciated, so she'll get over it. Also, drugs is one thing. That,
okay.
Yes. I'd like to spend the first part training, if that's all right.
Absolutely. What is Sling going to train?
I'd like to train in my prowling.
Okay. How do you go about doing that?
If I'm not mistaken, prowling is kind of like being sneaky and like following people without being seen. Is that right?
That's correct.
I'd like to train it by just practicing it, just on people in the street. It's like, he's an interesting man. Let's follow him for an hour or 2.
Okay. All right. So as your first downtime action, you go ahead and you practice tracking someone, keeping an eye on them, kind of, wandering through the city. You follow them basically through some couple of different districts, and that earns you 1 XP in essentially prowess.
Sweet.
And so for your second downtime action, what would you like to do?
How would one go about finding out if somebody is dead? Just asking for a friend.
Are we talking about somebody that you've known previously, or is this somebody recently, or in your long-term past?
Somebody in my past.
Okay.
Okay.
Who
So
I
not
just
Moon.
want to check up on.
I'm telling you, Moon is dead. I know you didn't see him die, but I promise you, he is dead.
The sheer funny, expressions on both Speedy and Hocus's face is hilarious. Okay, so who are you looking
Hocus
for?
doesn't know.
That's right. That's true.
I would have told you at some point. I imagine we all kind of
When
left together.
I left.
You
when
just
would
left
you-
on your own?
Yeah.
Well,
Boom. Shots ring out. I'm gone.
He left.
Gone.
All right.
Okay, so think about downtime though as like legitimately a large amount of time when you guys would have interacted at some form or another. You may have gone back to the head HQ, you may have gone to the Vale, you may have gone to your local watering hole and joined up and had a drink or whatever, and then gone your separate ways to do all this downtime stuff. But that communication probably happened, unless it's something that the two of you want to kind of role play, which then becomes a really interesting scenario. So that's how Hocus would probably know that he's dead. Okay, so Sling, what is it that who are you trying to find?
Well, it might be a long-term goal, but into her past, there's been situations where I can't pronounce it properly, like Titros.
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm from there. I should know. Titros.
Believe me, I am looking for a great pronunciation guide for all the things in this game so that I can pronounce them correctly, because it's really challenging. But go ahead. So call it whatever you like.
So Titros, she left in not the best of ways, and there are a few people there that she'd just like to know their status of breathing.
Okay. All right. I would call that a long-term project.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have, so these are very specific people either in your family or your past that you have in mind. And how would you go about doing this?
That's a very good question. It's my understanding, again, that might not be fully aware of, Whispers, like Hocus, and friends of Hocus, are able to tap in to the scosphere.
Okay.
And make contact with the dead.
Okay.
Is that right?
So yes, they're spirits. So whispers or mediums would be able to contact folks with information. I would suggest that there might be easier means for you to do that as well, just in kind of a general sense as well. You can decide, because one of the other difficulties of it, if you going to somebody who's a medium, is it might not necessarily they might get contact spirits that go that distance or they have communication with that distance. So I think it's one avenue that you can explore, and I'm happy to do that. I'm also going to suggest that you think about maybe hanging around the rail station and catching people that are coming in, or catching dock workers, or catching, I think they're called rail sparks, to find out, the news from that area. Let me ask you this question. Are these individuals that you're interested in, are they incredibly notorious / popular, or are these just common everyday people or criminals?
They're criminals, but they're known.
Okay.
They're not like the big Titros gang. They were kind of street urchins, like Brynn was.
Okay.
So yeah, so they got into a spot of bother before she left. So It's probably common knowledge in that area, at least, that these people exist. And I do have my contact is at the train station, so I could use that.
Well, I think that's a great opportunity, and I think that's I think that this is definitely, I would say, a 6-position progress clock, because I think that you have the opportunity to do some research there, and potentially contact a medium, and they might lead you to something else that, we figure out together in that respect. So,
Okay.
All right. So you're going to start with your contact at the rail station then?
Yes.
Okay. What's the conversation you're having with this particular person? Are you do they aware where you're from? Obviously it shows on your physical features, but are they aware of who you were back there? Or is this somebody that travels the railways? Is this a rail spark?
He
specific?
is more of a conductor, but he was the one to help Brynn get into the city in the first place.
Okay.
When she originally came. So he knows a bit about her, about where she's from.
Okay.
She didn't favorably.
Okay. Sorry, they're not called rail sparks; they're called railjacks. So this is somebody who is in a non. So let me describe what the rail spark or the railjacks are, just real quick, so that you understand why I'm asking. The men and women who protect the electro trains of the Imperium from the savage spirits in the Deathlands. So these are incredibly rough and tough people, but there would also be people like conductors and, I can't think of what's the name of the folks that run the actual train besides the conductor. There's
God.
I'm sorry.
Driver.
I'm thinking about the more general term besides the conductor.
Ticket collector.
There's a ticket collector. I'm thinking the engineer or
engineer.
Okay. So
I speak to Trainsy. That's what I do.
Yeah,
so
it's definitely
does he just appear right there, and that's your contact? Actually, is it Trainsy? Because if we could probably phone him in. Hey, can you do 5 minutes? So, anyways, so you go to Trainsy essentially, and you go and you have this conversation. So, how do you approach it?
I'd ask kind of things like, how's it going? How's the train business doing? Good, great. Glad to hear it's all doing well. So what's new? What's the news? Bet you hear loads. Or bet you hear so much. Let's talk about all the things you hear.
Let's talk about all the things you hear. Okay. So I'm going to add the progress clock onto the table. And then there isn't really something I can grab onto in respect to a role yet. So I would assume that he would share with you all the news of what were you from? You were from Orcosian, right? That's the name of the city. Is that what we were calling it?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you aware of the politics there? Were you aware of everything that was going on? Would that be unusual to you? Okay, so he starts to share the politics of the situation. The local city council doing their thing. There's a huge crackdown by their version of the Bluecoats, et cetera, et cetera. And he begins to talk about movements also in the criminal element, and he would know a bit about that because as a part of the rail system essentially. They would have to be keenly aware of anybody who's trying to make a move onto, essentially what the Imperium's, bread and butter is the transport of, goods, between the different cities and that kind of a thing, those resources. And he begins to talk about that there are a couple of, essentially street gangs that are moving in again around the turf of the rail yard in your home city. So,
okay.
Kind of, where would you want to dig a little further with that? I mean, or maybe what I should ask you is, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the people that you're looking for, and we can gravitate in that direction.
Yeah, certainly. Well, the thing about Brynn is that even Brynn is not her real name. Her real name is Keller, and she was raised in the streets of Titcherosh. She was an orphan child who, never knew her parents or a real home. And she, along with a group of other kind of street urchins, they kind of formed together in the best way that they could to survive. One man in particular, who was called Loman, kind of took charge, and he was a very possessive, paranoid, and dangerous man, but he was very good at what he did. And they got into a bit of a scrape, which was mostly Keller's fault. But her and Lohman had like a bit of a thing going on. It was very nice. It was very lovely. But they got into a bit of a scrape. Things didn't really go too well. And as Keller bolted from it, Lohman and some of the others did not. And it's possible they were killed by the situation. And she escaped.
So why don't you roll me a concert roll? And depending upon the result of that, we'll progress this a little bit. And I now know how to better provide you the information that you're looking for.
Cool. I have 0 consort, so this is going to be fine.
You probably get a bonus die for your contact, though, right?
Well, you do get a bonus die for your contact. Well, do you have anything that's better?
Hunt. I could survey. I could hunt them.
Survey doesn't necessarily apply, but yeah, let's go ahead and call it a survey.
Cool. Is it risky, controlled, desperate?
You're muted.
Because it's a long-term project, it's going to be controlled and limited effects, and we're just gonna take the result of the roll, not necessarily. Oh, okay, that's perfect. So 5. So we're going to advance that 2, and you're going to get a couple of interesting pieces of information.
Oh, that's exciting! I love information.
So, as you're kind of having the conversation, you kind of steer the conversation in the direction of these gangs that are kind of moving, in the background around the rail station in Tidros, and the circumstances of which the name Lohman, I believe, is what you said, right? Drops as being one of the ringleaders of one of these new gangs is kind of rising up, and that he's established himself reasonably well to make moves on the other 2 gangs that are kind of moving right now. And one of the circumstances is that he seems to have a tight-knit group around him. So that's the first piece of information that you're going to get. Lohman's alive, and that he has a tight-knit group of people around him. The implication potentially being that these are the same people that you left behind. The second piece of information you find is that this particular gang that's run by Lohman has been incredibly bloody in their rise to the top, and so have earned them a reputation that is even being talked about here in Doskval. So you could potentially ask around and get more information in Doskval about this particular organization.
Fantastic news. I'm sure it's all fine.
Oh yeah, it's great. You're good. You're good to go.
I'm good. Great. No, don't even need to worry about it. Forget the clock. I'm fine. It's great.
Absolutely. Okay, so you've got the clock there. Let's move on to Grin. Grin, what would you like to do in your downtime? Which message did you send me? Where? Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, I did see that already. So yeah, absolutely. We'll get to that. We'll get to that definitely. So, Grin, what's up?
Okay. First thing I want to do is with these notes that I took from Moon. I'm going to go somewhere. I'm going to basically start a long-term project. I want to study these notes in detail and see if there's anything of any use regarding the Foghound's activities, movements, anything at all. And I'll take these notes to the Devil's Tooth, which I believe is a drinking establishment and a drug den in Night Market, run by Mistress Kemba, and I know her. We have a professional relationship, and I know that if I slip her a coin or 2, that she'll make sure that I go undisturbed. And I also summon my friend Mercy, who is a contract killer and knows the city even better than Grin, and one of the few people that Grin actually trusts in the city. She's the sister of a deceased compatriot. from when he was in the Unity War, and he basically tasked her with helping him work out what the heck these notes are and what Grin can do to profit from the information in there. If he can't use it, maybe he can sell it to another gang.
Wow, that's a lot of setup for what sounds like your first downtime action, which is a long-term project. So because there was so much setup in that and so much detail, not only because you're using one of your contacts, which you'll get an additional D for, I love the setup so much that you'll get an additional D for because just of how detailed and intricate that. So you'll get 2 additional die when you actually roll this, just for reference. Okay. So just so I understand the intent, is the value of the notes that you're looking for, is the research that you're looking for in the notes, is it more about the generic value of it in respect to the Foghorn's operation or the Foghound's operation? I don't know why I'm saying Foghorn. Foghound's operations, or is it something very specific to what?
Grin does have a history with the gang, and again, anything he can do to scupper their plans, he'll take that opportunity.
So you're talking about with the intent of actually taking the Foghounds down.
Yeah, that would be a very long-term goal and a very selfish goal. In the short term, he wants to know if there's anything that can benefit him in those notes, if there's anything that could benefit the crew, and then if there's any value to them, if they're not useful, if there's nothing that Grin, or by extension Sky and the Phantoms, can benefit from these notes, Grin is more than happy to look for a fence and move them and sell them on.
Okay, so this sounds like it's a series of linked long-term projects, starting with the Foghound notes and evaluating the value of the Foghound notes. So I think that's going to be a simple clock. The way that, but what you said was really interesting, because there's 2 other things. Is there value to the crew? And then there's also the long-term goal of taking down the Foghounds as well.
Because knowing that the Foghounds are smugglers and thus direct competition for Sky and for the Phantoms and their operations, if there's an opportunity to hoodwink them or to learn where they're keeping merchandise or to otherwise intercept, that would be that's an opportunity for the crew. That's a potential score waiting to happen.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. So progress clock in this particular case is it's almost like a time kind of a thing, like the amount of time to actually dig in and do the research. So I'm going to make this a progress clock of 4. Okay. I've already created the label for it. I doubt you're going to get through it by the end of this, but probably your next downtime you're going to be able to complete this particular task. I have one question specifically for you about this again, or one more question about this, and then the result of this particular long-term project will probably generate, other clocks and scores for you guys as well.
Okay.
Do you want me to start a long-term project clock for taking down the Foghounds?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. I do not have a 10 position clock, but that's
I'm behind him on this.
Well, I'm sure you are. I'm absolutely sure you are. But so this is going to be a 10 position clock, and so the progress on this one's going to get tracked a little bit differently as you complete the shorter long-term projects. That will start to fill in the blanks.
Okay.
And this will be the first pip on that. So I need to get the art for a 10 position clock, and then we'll add that later. But I'll make a note of that. And right now, I'm going to have you roll your essentially. I guess you're going to do a study then, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. Well, what do you think makes sense? And let's talk about that.
Well, can I be clever? Can can I train as my first downtime activity and try and work towards improving my study so that I can then apply that to the second thing, which would be trying to maybe actually it's one of the same. I want in the process of studying these notes and doing research and running around the city and pulling my contacts, my eyes and ears, other smugglers, is there a way that I can improve my study that way and then apply that to my role on this first clock?
So training doesn't quite work like that because you can't gain enough value out of one training downtime session in order to make an advance in your study.
Oh, that's right. Okay, that's true.
So it would be 1 XP. I would still advise you that, if you want to, that you start down that path so that it facilitates that. But
that's what I want to do. Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to treat that as 2 downtime actions. So one of them is going to be you're going to train.
Yeah.
And let me look at your character sheet real quick. And that's going to go into your insight. So you're going to get 1 pip in your insight XP marker there.
Okay.
All right, and then the second one is I'm assuming that you're going to call this a study, or even survey might apply too. I mean, it's pretty much reaching it. So, but you're also already getting 2 additional die. So
I'll stick with study because it makes the most sense. Even though I'd love to use my survey, which is 2 pips, I'll use my study with 1 pip.
Okay, so go ahead and
it's logical.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and make that roll.
Okay, so.
And remember, it's going to be controlled.
Controlled.
Limited effect, just because that's, those really don't have an actual effect on this. And then go ahead and add your 2 additional die at the end of that. And let's see where
this is where we see if my dice curse is carried over.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
That is a crit. That is not just a success. That is a crit.
I found my game.
Yes.
You did find your game.
Anyone that's ever played RPGs with me, my dice rolling is atrocious. So this is
hands are dead.
Okay, so guess what? The Foghound Notes clock is blown away because with a crit, you get 5 positions moved on the progress clock.
Wow.
Because this was a 4-position progress clock, because it was just about assembling the initial amount of information. You get together with your friend in the situation, and you're in your element of feeling comfortable. The drinks are being brought to you at the correct pace that you want them.
Fantastic.
You blow completely through this. And so here's what you find, and this is where it gets a little interesting. You find out that the Foghounds have completely overextended themselves. They are trying incredibly hard based on all these notes. As you kind of begin to compile all this information, they have overextended themselves and are reaching as far as they possibly can to try to gain hold on anything in order to increase their holding and increase their coin coming in on a weekly basis. They're desperate at this point. It is also obvious that they have marked a couple of targets for who would be who they would like to take over them as patrons if they cannot, accomplish this themselves. And that information I will give to you right now based on these notes. Give me just 1 second. Okay, so high on their list are groups like the Hive, the Silver Nails, the Red Sashes. They are also humoring the idea of spending a little bit of time trying to find some help from the Bluecoats.
Oh, yeah.
So these are the organizations that they are clearly targeting and going, hey, this is what's going on. We're looking for a patron if we can't, we can accomplish this. So on top of all of that, on top of the information that they are completely desperate, and they are looking for that patron, there are a number of listings for shipments of Leviathan blood, food goods, or canned goods coming from across via ship, and human trafficking.
Huh.
So you've got
what kind of human trafficking?
it's listed as slavery,
Hmm.
a new shipment of slaves, essentially.
Okay.
Slavery is legal in this world, correct? Or is it?
It's frowned upon. It's frowned upon in public, but it is definitely legal. It is generally considered. It is thought of more as servitude. You are a servant, or you are a lower class that is indentured. But there's also pretty much a free trade of slaves going on, and then they are placed under the guise of indentured servitude. Right. So this is a civilized society, as I keep using the quotes, but that's really what it is, right? It's I mean, it's pretty blatant, but the legal framework for it is indentured servitude. Right. So
Gotcha.
Okay.
So that was a pretty amazing find. So I get to, blow away the clock that I just created for you.
Who needs that?
And I'm going to create, like I said, you just earned your first pip on the 10 pip clock specifically for taking down the Foghounds.
That's awesome. Okay.
All right. So I believe that's downtime action for everybody. And I know Ari's been patiently waiting. I think it's time that we begin that introduction process. So how do you guys want to do that? How is that connection going to happen?
Well, so we talked about this a little bit before, and I think it was that she kind of probably would have put things together and saw it, and she would be seeking us out. I'll let her go into how she goes about that, but I'll say that it's her job.
Okay.
Well, there have been many, many a rumor about the infamous Sky. And one day during his downtime, Ari decides to seek him out and probe a little bit for both information and just for the pure fun of it to watch him squirm.
Ouch.
Mm.
Sorry, go ahead.
I like you already. You can stay. How do you go about doing that, or how are you specifically going to make your introduction to Sky?
Yeah.
Are you going to show up at Donovan's supply, or are you going to find him as he's wandering around the various establishments of Duskfall?
I think I'm going to show up at Donovan's.
All right.
Did we explain to people?
Poke him on his own turf.
Yeah. So for those unaware, Donovan's is what we've named the shop that Sky owns and runs. That is a front for the smuggling business. Basically, it's kind of like a wholesaler, sells large barrels of mushrooms, eels, the common staples of Duskfall.
Goats.
No drugs. But it's a front of a legitimate business. It's named Donovan's after the previous owner before Sky, who was like a mentor to him, and Sky stabbed in the back and brutally killed and took over the shop.
Sky does that.
Yeah, Sky does that. And turned it into a place that sells or that stores and transports various vices. So Sky, this one day just managing the shop, looking over notes, ledgers, whatever it may be on shipments.
And Ari's going to saunter in and kind of just take in the place as she walks up to the front desk and, smells like a confusing mixture of both disappointment, hope, and mushrooms. I'm Ari. How's it going?
Well, hello there, missy. The name's Sky. Which of those things are you interested in buying today?
Oh, I have a feeling that you don't really have anything here, at least, that I want. But I think that I'm exactly what you might want.
Oh? And why would I want you exactly? I don't. Generally, I've been around town a bit. I can't say that I've ever seen any ladies of the night going out on deliveries without being prompted first?
Ari's going to, well, she's going to lean right over the desk at this point, arms crossed. I know a lot more about you, Sky, than you might think. And I think you're a very dangerous man about this town. Some might say that things happen once in a full moon with you. Oh, too soon?
Oh. Where'd you hear this information, if I may ask?
Well, people's lips become very loose in the hours of the night, especially after partaking in certain adventures.
You are a dangerous woman. I can see that much.
I was hoping you might think that. Now then, I believe that we can come to some sort of an arrangement.
What is it that you're after?
I want to join your crew.
Oh? You think you got it? What's in you for be one of the Phantoms?
I think that lately what I've been doing has become very boring, and frankly, a little bit of danger sounds a lot more fun to me. And you, Mr. Sky, are a very, very dangerous person to be around.
You definitely seem like you know what you're talking about.
I know what a lot of people are talking about.
Well, we do seem to have a position that needs filling, as you are all too aware.
Indeed. Let's just hope that this time it doesn't come to such a bloody end. Because otherwise, I think you're going to be the one that regrets it.
Fair enough. Well, things will never need to come to that if you simply follow my rules and come to an agreement with me and stick to it.
Rules are made to be broken. We'll see.
All right, let's talk terms. You want to join my crew? Do you want, what is it? Coin? Portion of our scores? Information?
I want to have fun.
Well,
I want a little bit of everything. To dip my fingers in each honeypot. I believe you have access to some of the things that I want of a little more of an illicit kind, and things that are a little bit more of monetary value. I want everything. And I think you can provide it for now.
If you know as much as you say, then you certainly are aware of the things that I can provide for you, the things that I already provide so generously to my employees. If that is all you want, then I think we can come to an agreement here. I provide you with the vices, that you desire, within reason, of course. And you join my crew. You work for me. You do as I say, when I say it. And together, we take on this city.
I do what I want, when I want, with who I want. For now, you suit my terms. And she sticks out her hand again.
That ain't no kind of deal that I ever heard. That you're just gonna keep doing what you want while I give you drugs, alcohol, whatever it is that you desire.
If it meets both of our means, I don't see what the issue is.
Well, you see, you didn't seem to agree to the terms that I put forth.
Ugh, fine, you're no fun at all.
So, you work for me, you do what I say, you do not betray me.
Do I get such terms back? Do you vow, Mr. Sky, to not betray me either?
You drive a hard bargain. But, sure.
After all, there's no fun in dying.
Well, some may say that.
Only if you mean it.
I mean it. You are my employee now. You do what I say, and we will not betray each other. This is what we're agreeing upon.
This is our deal.
Very well.
Now then, where's everybody else? I have to say hello.
Wow, well, you are just a bundle of fun, aren't you?
Where's the fun in being dull?
Brynn will probably walk in at this point, see this, and then just turn around and leave again.
I don't have enough drugs for this, right?
Drugged enough for this situation.
Well, wasn't she a pretty one?
Well, try not to look too much at her face. I mean, well, you know how it is.
I mean,
She's a bit self-conscious at times.
she's different. Different makes her unique. Unique makes her rare. And rare? Well, that makes her special. And anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve her time of day.
Absolutely true. And that right there is why I employed her. She's got something special about her. I'll give her that. And she is useful to me, most important.
I can see we're going to get along very well, Mr. Sky.
I believe so, Miss Ari.
She's going to now just walk her way around the desk and just put herself into the back room.
Okay.
He'll escort her in, and he'll show her around a little bit, show her some basic operations. Not too much detail. He doesn't know to trust her entirely just yet, but
she's under contract already now.
that's true. But still,
He's
she
under
seems
my
more
contract
dangerous than
as
other
well.
people. Yeah. Also, as you shook his hand, you saw upon your forearm a tattoo of a bird appear. We talked about this in the last episode about how the contract physically manifests itself. Before I just said it was some kind of rune or something kind of generic. I decided I wanted to go with something more specific to Sky and say the contract manifests itself differently depending on the person initiating the contract. And for him, it is the symbol of a bird. And if you were to look up his arm, you would see like probably dozens of birds, just a flock on his arm. But yeah, well, welcome to the crew. Suppose let's get the whole gang together and have them meet you. And the rest of you can walk in now. I mean,
I was gonna
Sling
say
already
that's
just saw.
She's out.
Yeah,
So-
when Grin shows up, he throws the door open, and immediately he's like, "Sky, we need to have a conversation." And he looks up. Hello. What's going on here, Sky?
Well, we've found a new moon, if you will.
Isn't he a grim one?
That's where Hocus walks in, is right on that. We found the new moon. That's where he walks in and goes, wait, what happened to the old one?
Oh,
Yeah. Didn't you hear he died? Sky saw to
No.
that. Didn't you, Sky?
this
I
is the
beg your
first I've
pardon.
seen him since that operation.
Oops, did I let something slip?
Oh, well, he would have known eventually. Hocus, you should be well aware of the situation Moon was in. He was too much of a liability for us, and so he is no longer with the crew.
Somewhat roundabout way of saying that you killed him.
Well, I mean, I suppose if you were to ask the Foghounds, they'd certainly say differently.
I'm not asking the Foghounds, I'm asking you.
Then that would be correct.
I see. And he's going to go sit on a box somewhere over in the thing and just try not to rock back and forth. Like,
So, Grin, you said there was something you need to talk about?
It can wait.
Oh, don't mind me.
Is she under contract, Sky?
She is indeed.
I sure am.
Oh, welcome to the club.
At this point,
And,
Sling regretfully slinks back into the room.
I was just about to go get her. I was just about to go get her.
She's just like, this is not okay. She's just going to stand to the side, and she's just watching for now.
First thing Grin does is lock the front door and make sure there is a closed sign. And then hesitantly pulls out his assembled notes. Not just the notes that he found from the Foghounds, but the notes he's been taking and, tying things together. And it's covered in Post-it notes. And slaps it down and says, I think that I have a way, Sky, that we could supplant the Foghounds. And I know that sounds crazy, and it's a long way off. I think we could take them down. And I push the notes forward and start spreading them out. And
Where'd you get
Just
all this
point him.
information?
I got it from their warehouse. Moon had it on him when you ran him through.
You didn't feel it necessary to tell me about this?
Well,
Oh.
to be
You're a
honest, Sky, I didn't know if you were trustworthy. And I'll be honest, again, I still don't know if you're trustworthy. But I think, for the majority, our goals align. And I see a lot of profit to be gained from going after the Foghounds?
Well, you're
It could
absolutely
it could
correct
set
there.
us up. It could set up the whole crew for life.
That's very true. Foghounds are largely the last smuggling faction, the largest anyways, left in Duskfall. If we were to
They're
take
also
their
not
spot,
particularly quiet.
what was that?
They're also not particularly quiet.
This is true.
Thing is, guys, I have one quick question. You know, it's been niggling at the back of my mind just for a little bit now. And if we are going to be working together on, you know, whatever new scheme you've got cooking up there in that brain of yours, one quick question, Sky. Do you make a habit of just finding strangers and bringing them back to this shop and then giving them contracts? And you know, is this a thing that you do?
Yeah, I'll be disposable. Is that what it is,
Yeah.
Sky?
No,
As far as
no,
I've
no.
seen it, you
Don't be
know, in the
ridiculous.
past
You know,
day.
Moon, you should be well aware, he was never under contract with me.
Mm-hmm.
We never
Actually,
had such an arrangement as I have with you, and well, he took advantage of that. He wasted all of our time. He offered tea when there was no tea.
That was annoying, not gonna lie. But see, it does seem a bit weird, you have to admit, that within the process of maybe about a day or so, 4 of us now, just all here, all happy chums, all ready to go.
Do we not have any tea?
No, did he offer you tea as well? Honestly.
I apologize for the lack of tea. But no, you are correct. It is unfortunate that a lot of you have had to be assembled so quickly. There have been problems lately in Duskfall, and well, finding good men, honest workers is hard.
Honest in this city?
Yes.
Impossible, really. But honest is well, I keep them as honest as I can with our little handshakes, you see. And well, Moon could never agree to it, and he abused that power. And the one, well, last guy before him, Muscles, he wasn't the brightest tool in the shed, if you know what I mean.
Well, moons
Mixed
disappear in the sun, and muscles too can fade.
This is true. But
What
you lot,
son?
you seem better. You seem like people who I can rely on. And you seem to have learned fairly quickly how things go around here if you don't just follow orders.
That's
yeah,
sounds like that's a threat. That's a threat.
It's not a threat, simply stating the fact. This is how we do business around here. It's not unique to me or my business. We're in a dangerous business. And loyalty is important. If you cause too much trouble, then well, if I'm not the one to personally take you out, then someone else will. And someone else will take me out. For the sake of this business, it's important to know your place and well, know when someone has expended their use. If you wish
As
to,
long as you know your own.
I was gonna say we are all replaceable.
only if you well, fail to continue being useful. That
You
is up
hired
to
my
you.
sword.
Has clouds.
We are all under this little contract of yours. It might get a bit hard to keep track of the things you got to do, mate. So I'd keep an eye out.
I think they have it out for you, Sky.
Blame him. I just want to get by and do my own thing, right? He gives me my supply. I'm a nappy woman. I'm not hard to please. I just want to make sure I get what I am in for.
Noted, Miss Sling, was it?
Ah, you're a fast learner, you are.
Noted.
Glad to be of service.
Oh, you have no idea, sweetheart.
Well, if that's all settled, if you are comfortable with how things have gone, I'd like to move on to business. Now, Grin, what is this information you provided me with?
We got a list of names, locations, shipments, a list of potential patrons. Patrons. If the Foghounds are liaising with some of these names, and we can get to these names first, there could be something there. I stab at the papers. They're dealing in dealing in Leviathan blood. They're moving food supplies. They're moving slaves. And I don't know how any of the rest of you feel about slavery, but kind of knowing that the Foghounds are moving people, I'd love to go after them for that alone. But there's not much profit in it.
Well, being a slave is no fun. I'm sure we could do something.
Well, I'm not one to go on a vigilante mission freeing slaves, but there is definitely some profit in what you've said. If we could perhaps secure one of these shipments of Leviathan blood, deliver it to one of these patrons, and secure their loyalty as customers.
That's actually a really good idea. We could demonstrate how thinly spread the Foghounds are, how ill-staffed they are. If we, as a small organization, not that any of the Foghounds patrons need to know the size of our organization, but if we very easily take a shipment to one of these patrons, we lift a shipment and take it to them, maybe we could get their patronage. Maybe
Absolutely.
we could expand our ranks.
Who were those patrons, by chance?
Those patrons, we're looking at the Hive, Silver Nails, the Red Sashes, and best of all, our friends the Bluecoats.
Oh, yay.
Yay!
All right. Well, I've already got some connections in the Hive. Could improve our standing with them, but I'd rather go after someone new. How do you feel about the Red Sashes?
GM, can you quickly tell us anything about the Red Sashes rather than me scurry to a PDF? Although that's probably exactly what you're doing now.
Well, so there's actually a bit more context that I can provide about the Red Sashes than just what's in the PDF. But I'll tell you what the PDF says first, which is originally they were an Eruvian school of swordsmanship who have now turned to crime. They are directly involved in the conflict that's going on in Crow's Feet right now, which is there's the three different gangs that are trying to take that territory. It's quite a bloody affair. They seem to be succeeding right now in the circumstance because they seem to be getting a lot of coin from extracurricular activities in order to support their little bloody conflict.
Extracurricular.
And they're fighting against the Crows, correct?
They are fighting against the Crows. This conflict would be pretty public. Let me find the other one, the other crew that they're fighting with. But it would be an incredibly public conflict because there's a lot of blood being generated and there's a lot of territory that's being exchanged back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So just 1 second. Let me double check that final crew for you. Let's see. It is the Crow's Feet, the Lambbacks, and the Red Sashes.
Okay.
Or sorry, the Crows, the Redbacks. Crows, the Red Sashes, and the Lambbacks or Lamp Blacks. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
So, And I believe if Sky would have some information from his research project that directly related to this. And so would Valen, or sorry, so would Hocus. Just to remind you guys of the downturn projects that you just did.
Regarding the importing of slaves, probably, or?
So the Dimmer Sisters thing, I maybe I'm misremembering that. My notes are a little cagey around that because I do remember talking about the red sashes with one of you. I thought it was both of you. So if it was just one of you, then it was probably Hocus and the Valen inquiry. So
yep.
Okay, so just as a reminder, Hocus would probably have a little bit more information.
Care to share with the class?
I'm debating. You mentioned the red sashes, did you not, Grin? I'll take that as a yes.
He did, yeah.
Grin is eating a sandwich.
Sitting in a corner somewhere. Even the rats wouldn't touch it, so Grin's going to eat it. Okay. Well, there is another line of inquiry which I had going on an unrelated matter, but it does touch somewhat on the red sashes and their apparently somewhat free-handed tendency for kidnapping. So there is a bit of that.
Wait, kidnapping?
Yes.
I see.
So would they, in that case, perhaps be interested more in these slaves they've been dealing in rather than the Vasses?
Well, I don't know. Exactly what they're using the people for. Perhaps they're using them for video games. I have no idea. But, no. I mean,
So who are they taking?
Well, I imagine they've taken a great many people, but the one that I know about, or two that I know about, is professors from Charter Hall.
I see. All right. Interesting.
Hmm.
No, the information that this directly pertained to was possible. They were in beginning negotiation with the Red Sashes to talk about the possibility of them becoming a patron of the Foghound. So that would be the discussion would be about the generics of the business and how they align and why that their coin is important would be important to the Foghounds and how the Foghounds could support that. There would be nothing that would talk specifically about the fog or essentially the Red Sash's interests. I mean, this is probably something that because what we've done here is we've moved into from the downtime to basically the information gathering, free play phase of the game. So this is kind of the thing where you could probably use some of your contacts, use some of, there's probably somebody around the table who could do some investigation and look for that type of information. Like, what would the Sashes be really interested in?
Fair, okay. Regardless, I think we want to, I guess we'll try and find some information about what the Red Sashes want and then do a score, which is stealing from the Foghounds, or stealing a target that they had previously had, to provide that for the Sashes.
Steal from the crows, they'll be even happier.
You could always just get the slaves to turn against their masters. That could be fun.
Well, I don't see much profit in that, though.
I never said there'd be profit. I just thought it would be fun.
Would be pretty funny, not gonna lie.
wouldn't it? Think of the horrors on their faces as all of their slaves rise up against them and crush them in inevitable agony. It would be amazing.
That is true. Still,
Just
we
saying.
have a topic at hand here, which is, well, we want to get rid of the foghounds. We can do much more slave freeing and rebelling once we've taken care of those. If that is something that we see as a good strategy.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in here and ask a couple questions just so I can get a clarification, because it does sound like you guys are moving towards a score at this point. It sounds like you're going to want to do some investigation to kind of figure out exactly what the Red Sashes want, and then you want to target your score based on the information that the Foghounds had for that particular target. Okay, so how do you want to go about the investigation?
Honestly,
how do you guys want to execute?
We could just ask the Red Sashes. As far as I know, they don't have any grudges against us. And, I mean, they have vice dens throughout the city as well, right? They have their own, so...
Yeah, they sure would. They would have, but it seemed all of their effort right now would be really kind of focused on the bloody conflict that's going on in Crow's Feet, right? So, let me switch over to the map so that we can demonstrate what everybody, to all the viewers as well, are looking at. Crow's Feet is essentially this box, and it's right here in the center, and I'll ping it on the map. But it's essentially it's divided among the three factions right now that are currently warring over it. And they're all about the same level, so they're about the same strength, but the Red Sashes are clearly exhibiting their advantage because of the amount of coin that they're generating, as has come from the research that you guys have done previously. So yes, you could ask around, potentially talk to other vice dens, or go do that type of investigation to find out how the conflict is going and what seems to interest them. With all of that being said, you also might venture into their territory, because as you notice, each of there's a lot of entrances, and so there would be an obvious easy way for you to get through without getting into the bloody conflict that is Crow's Feet. And ask them directly, or even maybe have a conversation that leads to that. So
yeah,
again, you can do multiple roles here. There are multiple possibilities for you to go after this investigation. It's really up to essentially your imagination at this point, or anybody's imagination around the table.
If we don't want them coming back to us, I could always go in disguise.
This is true. I see no reason to distrust them at this point. Other than the obvious, never trust anyone. But no, we want them to know that we exist. We want them to know that we have something that they want, that we can provide for them.
Well, way I see it, you want someone to be friendly towards you. You show them you can be good to them.
A little bit of back scratching.
They don't like whatever those guys call the bloody bird people, crows or whatever. They don't like them. I personally ain't got nothing against them, but, things can change.
I'm no fan of the crows myself, but all we need right now with the Red Sashes is a conversation. That ain't so hard to set up now, is it?
No.
It's not so hard to set up. It's just, how well do you manage to continue that conversation?
Intel don't come for free around these parts, Sky. They're going to want something in return, and you're going to have to give it to them.
Well, that's the
I
idea.
like you.
They give us the only information we want from them is what they want, and then we're going to give it to them. For a price, but, a fair one that the Foghounds can't quite compete with at their current level.
And let's just walk up to their front door, give it a couple of knocks, let them open it and be like, all right, mate, listen up. We want to do you a solid. And, things will just work out from there, I'm sure.
Yeah, something like that. Perhaps send a letter instead. Looks at Hocus. It's a
If they do,
neutral
if they
third
do
party, and we can trust him.
And if they do want to meet, we don't meet them at their place, and we don't bring them here. We'll go somewhere neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so am I hearing this correct that Hocus is going to carry a letter for you with the intent of an introduction?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And the result of that introduction is for you to have a conversation with the Red Sash's leadership of some kind to find out what they're interested in.
Right. I will, if they're willing to just give us, send a letter back saying, yes, we'd be interested in if you can give us this supply or whatever. If they can just send us that letter back, that would be much more convenient. But if they request a meeting, then we would do so in a neutral third-party location.
Okay, this is in one of those gray areas of the mechanics of the game. I'm trying to figure out if there's an actual score in here or if this is more information gathering and it requires a fortune roll. This could potentially be a social engagement score where you are attempting to make an introduction or to make that connection directly. I mean, I'm happy to. I think that if you want to do the letter approach, I would leave it up to a fortune roll and see what the result of that is. And depending upon that result, it'll come out whether you were, it was a positive or negative, and then we can go from there in respect to, because it's one of those things that I'm not just going to make a decision for. I think that chance and fate really kind of need to play a part in this. So,
Okay.
What is the contents of the letter?
Something along the lines of, we understand that you have been talking with the Foghounds about perhaps having some kind of dealings. We would be more than willing to make a similar deal, but at a lower cost, or to provide something that they can't.
So you're just going to come right out and say it. You're going to be incredibly direct about this.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
All right. Tell us what you want. We will give it to you, and the Foghounds will have no way of acquiring it.
Okay. So the way that, and we did a fortune roll last week for ghosts, or for Moon's circumstances of whether he was going to be a ghost or not. We're going to handle this one a little bit differently. We're going to go in a little bit more detail here. So initially, you guys will get one dice added to the roll, and just for sheer luck. You always will just roll one roll here. One die at least. The other things that can affect it are things like traits that you guys think that are positives in this particular situation. The quality rating of the faction that you're communicating with, because you're a faction level 0 and they're a faction level 2, that will have a negative effect of dropping, any additional die to 0. So you would basically only be rolling that one die here. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to make a suggestion. That way this is incredibly positive, and it also takes advantage of something that you guys were gifted. So you guys have you have 2 crits as the party that can be dealt out to anybody. Speedy specifically has 1 crit. So if you guys want to just use that and have this be a critical success, we can just follow along with that as well.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Okay. All right. So, Hocus, when you deliver this letter,
well,
you know that this is a war zone. How do you approach this?
Before we get to that,
okay,
just real quick. Hocus is like, I'm not quite certain that this is the best way to word this. If you're inviting them to a meeting, don't put everything on the table right away in the letter. you've hereby indicated that we are vying against the Foghound, so they know exactly who we're trying to contest, and you've presented it in such a way that makes it seem a little bit desperate, which, even if it is, you should probably be a bit more subtle about it. If you're going to invite them to a meeting, invite them to a meeting. If you're going to offer them a deal, then put that in the letter.
The spooky one's right.
It is a bit on the nose, sir, I gotta say.
You make a good point. Perhaps we don't mention the Foghounds at all. Perhaps we just say we have access to things that you want. That if you need anything illicit delivered into the city, we can offer you the best price. Or that no one else will be able to do this for you the way we can. Does that sound better?
We would be honored to meet with you at a neutral location to discuss
terms.
Blah, 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 blah.
He has a way with words, this ghostly thing.
That word's thank you. Not really.
So that is the updated version of the letter that you were sending?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, Warzone.
Now, you are basically wandering into an armed conflict in an urban setting. There will not be a lot of, essentially the modern gunfire kind of a thing. And although there will be guns being used, there are more than just black powder guns. There's probably, a certain level of, mid 19th century weaponry that we can call. And that's actually something we can explore later on. But most of the conflict will be blades. And probably very little explosions, Molotov cocktails, that kind of a thing, because of the conflict. But there will be conflict and there will be patrol. So you're walking into a situation that is dangerous. How would you approach this?
Well, Hocus doesn't carry many weapons, or what many people would consider weapons. I mean, he's got a belt knife. It's an Eruvian knife, so it's sharpened on the outside of the blade. But he mostly uses it for cutting fibers when he's making ropes and stuff. He doesn't usually use it for fighting. If he needs to do conflict, he doesn't like killing people because that leads to more ghosts. But what he does carry is a very thick. It's a piece of rope that's easily just like the size of a Coke can, and it's probably about 1.5 to 2 feet long. It's basically a sap that he will just use to knock someone unconscious if he has to. But he does not like to fight. But he also carries a regular length of rope, which is closer to a very fine leather. Which the reason he has the name Hocus is that he's very good at rope tricks, and he's good at fighting with it, almost like either using it as a whip or as some kind of a grapple sort of thing to try to tie people up with loops and poles and whatnot. But he focuses on non-lethal stuff. Aside from that, he really doesn't carry any weapons.
Quick meta question. Would it help or hinder if such a man were to have a certain bodyguard who may be 17 years old and carry a gun?
or someone in his early 40s who really is a bodyguard. That is my special ability.
Are you saying she's not a bodyguard?
I say that actually both Hound and Grin need to be front and center in that meeting, or at least showing muscle.
Well, let's take a step back for a second, right? You guys are already using a crit. You know this is going to be a success. What I'm trying to do is establish. I'm just trying to establish the flavor of it. But that brings an interesting point to it. That could change the what happens out of the success. A little bit of muscle. I would ask, what's the intent of showing muscle in escorting somebody who is considered neutral, because the couriers would be considered neutral.
Right, and Hocus wouldn't want an escort.
Yeah, and he would have identifying marks to be able to, he would have like a badge or a pin or something that would clearly mark him. He would have something that resembles what the couriers would have as a uniform.
Okay.
Well, at the very least, Sling would be accompanying him as far as she can and watching from a vantage point. But once you're inside, you potentially be on your own unless Sky or Ari accompanied you. Someone else with a silver tongue.
I'm very good at catching a liar.
If we could get her the uniform of a courier, and I know that might grate on you, Hocus, but it would be useful to have. It would be useful to have more than one warm body.
I fight with my tongue, not with a sword.
Figures.
I would prefer it that way. If
Then.
those
What
of
are we
you
waiting
who
around
are
for?
those of you who are titchy about it, if you wish, you may watch over from wherever you can find vantage point, but do not travel with me.
Oh, yeah, no, see, I thought if I watch from the vantage point, I just yell over the street, oh, hey, Hocus, I'm just over here. Oh, look out for me. I'm going to be protecting your back on this super secret mission.
Yes, precisely that don't do.
All right,
Hocus.
got it. Also,
Hocus, how do you usually make your deliveries? Do you have a goat?
No.
You just walk around the...
Scapegoat.
It depends on how far I have to go.
I knew you guys were going to bring goats into this. I swear to God.
Well, I'm just
Scapegoat,
thinking, we have a carriage. Is it unusual if the couriers get around by carriage?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless they have to go across multiple provinces within the town, but if we were to do that, it would be a courier's carriage.
Okay.
It would just.
I'm very uncomfortable you going in alone.
I'm not exactly fully settled on the idea myself, but this has to be done if we're going to accomplish this.
Okay.
Oh,
And it's
Hocus Pocus here can handle himself. I'm sure he'll be okay.
I honestly could not care less. Let's go.
All right.
Okay, so back to it. How are you entering? This war zone?
When you say war zone, are we talking barricades at the entrances to the burrow, as it were?
So the various entrances to the burrow would be actually open because they are controlled by a variety of the three factions basically have a division of the island. At some point, there's actually a greater detailed map for Crowsfoot, and I will detail it out as this becomes important to the conflict of the story, and it sounds like it's going to. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, when you enter across one of the bridges, or if you were to take one of the boats to it, you would be greeted in a situation where there would be guards there, but they would not be barricaded. There would not be, walls. It would be a checkpoint, though. Given the circumstances of your profession, you would be given some leeway and some respect because you represent, quote unquote, a neutral faction.
Correct. I have probably had to deliver, at the very least, to the limits of the bridge, a message or two, but not necessarily into Crowsfoot. However, so I would probably know which bridges are more likely to be controlled by the red sashes than.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so we'd start by going there.
Okay. Now, you just said something that's really interesting to me, and something I actually didn't think of, which is, would you deliver it to the guards there and trust that they get the information to the appropriate person? Or is this a situation where you would force your station a little bit?
I would force it a little bit.
Okay.
Not quite so hard as I did so well before.
Well, and again, this is not about the rules. This is about just me understanding.
Right.
We're also understanding the narrative aspect of this.
Well, in that case, I was very specifically saying this is for Margaret, and it's for her hands and her hands only. This letter is not addressed to any particular person. It is simply to be to the leader or someone in authority of the Red Sashes who is empowered to parlay, as it were.
Oh, okay. All right. So that's definitely a situation where you would be escorted in. You would be essentially escorted into like a duty station or something, and been asked to wait as a representative comes, reads over the letter, and says, you know, you're going to need to give me some time while I pass this information along. Do you want to come back, or you would stay? And, you know, we'll hand wave the time that happens. But when you get a response, because you guys did use the success, you hand wave and do the response, and the response comes back. It comes back overwhelmingly positive. And so because you use the crit, I'm going to let you guys ask me a couple pieces of information that you specifically want, and I will answer those questions for you. Okay. Okay. So what they're interested in buying, they are definitely not interested in the slaves. They love the idea of moving Leviathan blood. They are in a situation where control is...
Sorry, I just realized I didn't unmute myself for the stream again.
It's okay.
But yeah, what I said, what I wanted to know is what exactly it is that they are shipping, and what it is that why they were interested in the trafficking of people beforehand.
Okay, so they, like I said before, based on the information that you're asking, they are not looking at trafficking people generally. They are not interested in that, and Leviathan blood holds no sway for them or interest right now, because they can't move it with the amount of conflict that they're currently dealing with by trying to control Crowsfoot. That being said, the food stuff sounds really interesting to them. When you engage, or when you're looking for more information specifically about trafficking of individuals, it comes down to more that's just good business. Mm-hmm. The kidnapping and ransoming of particular individuals, snatch and grab jobs. I mean, you have done that in the past. It's lucrative, right? Especially when the targets are important. And that's basically all you get from that part of the conversation. You also do get that they are incredibly amiable to the idea of building a relationship with you.
Excellent.
Good news.
So now you know exactly what they're interested in. Provisions would probably be the best thing for them.
Provisions, so like basic foodstuffs.
Right.
Mushrooms and eels.
Yep.
Mushrooms and eels.
I saw some legitimate
I was about to say, like, these are all things that we can do legally.
No, and the more we can do legally, the easier it is to cover the stuff that's not.
Yeah, it keeps us under the radar.
Well, so the foodstuffs coming in as a shipment, you don't know what's coming in that shipment necessarily. You just know that the shipments are coming in. So there might be something, as lucrative as
lambus bread. No,
wait. So they've said they want a specific shipment of foodstuffs to come to them?
No, they said that they're interested in foodstuff, because what that means is they don't have to spend coin on it necessarily. Okay. If you're trying to establish a relationship with them. Got
it. And so the shipment of the foghounds that they had of foodstuffs, that's what you're saying. There might be something else in that as well.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, I see no reason not to steal from the foghounds, and as we accomplish this anyways, right?
And so that's the score that you guys are going for?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
All right. So, investigation. More information that you guys need in order to start building this score up. The details that come from the notes that Grin retrieved from Moon's body illustrate that it is a shipment coming in. Give me just a second. It is a shipment coming in at the hour of wine, or expected at the hour of wine, very close to the Foghounds headquarters. and something that they expect to take through subterfuge versus, and there were some notes about a plan of subterfuge or doing it, in a way that wasn't open conflict.
Okay. So it's a shipment. It's coming in like at the docks, pretty much.
Mhm.
Did it say exactly like what their point of contact would be, like when along the shipment they would be taking it?
The plan that they indicated that they would be taking it as close to their HQ as possible as it was being transported away from the actual ship itself. So while it was on carts being pulled by goats, it would be as it was being essentially transported to a warehouse from, and then from that warehouse, it'll be distributed out to whoever the legitimate merchants are that had interest in that.
Okay.
They would be acquiring it in transit from the docks to.
And so, and there would be like no
their
waiting
plan.
time between those things either, right? It would be like the shipment comes in and they take it immediately.
Well, they would. So when it
or
goes
as
from
it gets transported.
right, as it's getting transported. So
Right.
it's the kind of thing. It's almost like a highway robbery kind of a thing, right?
Right, but there's no like point before that where it's in like a warehouse waiting to be shipped off somewhere.
No, it would definitely be unloaded, and then kind of provisioned out in the open, and then kind of taken from them.
Right.
Taken onto the carts, and then from there.
All we got to do is get it one step ahead of them. Easy, right?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So it sounds like you guys are going to do. So let's move into the score planning phase then. All right.
Mhm.
So let's just shift into that, since it sounds like there's not going to be much investigation or any information gathering that needs to happen unless something comes up before we actually do the engagement roll. So there are. Last week when we did this, we kind of just rolled through it really quickly to get things going and got right to the engagement roll. So this week, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the type of plan that you guys are going to be executing. And there are 6 basic types of plans, and it sounds like about 3 of them actually apply. So the basic plan types are assault, deception, stealth, occult, social, and transport. The 3 that sound like apply to me are assault, deception, or stealth.
I would say deception, probably.
Yeah, I am totally non-biasedly choosing deception.
I think that would be the way to go. I think if Grin has some contacts down by the docks, which I think you do, right? Grin? Okay.
Sorry, I spaced out. Run that by me again.
Do you have some contacts down by the docks?
I do.
All right. So if you could get one of them to kind of look the other way, or to just to agree to meet us, like say we're coming over there with our cart to take this thing. All you have to do is convince your friend to say that he thought we were the ones who were supposed to take it.
I can do that.
Okay, so we're calling this deception. The plan is deception. And what the plan does is it just describes the general type of planning that you guys are doing and is going on. And you actually just nailed the detail, which is the one question that I have to ask you before we actually do the engagement roll, which is the method of deception. And so Grin is going to contact this friend of his contact and basically, say, look the other way while we grab it. And that's going to happen at the dock, correct?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so on top of that, there's a couple more questions that I have for you. What is your loadout? What exactly do you guys bring into this particular score?
So we know that this is coming on off of a ship. Do we know like how big the thing is, or how it would generally be transported?
Would we need a giant goat carriage? Is the question.
Well, so from the plan details, from the details of what you were given in the information that Grim acquired, the Foghounds were going to just take the carriages and goats that are going in transit,
Mm-hmm.
and just essentially take those, Shanghai them, take those, and then take it back to their headquarters or their warehouse or whatever.
Right. My real question is our carriage with our goats, is that enough to carry all of this?
No, this is a legitimate shipment. This is a legitimate foodstuff shipment. It's a large take essentially.
Okay. So we got to get ourselves some more carts.
Yeah.
We need to get ourselves some more goats.
Goat
Do
heads.
we know anyone who is maybe a supplier of carts in
Goats.
the area and goats in the area?
Well, the only
And
people who
is there
supply those are the
maybe a way
cabbies.
that we could
Okay,
we
so
maybe
The
sway a
cabbies don't
cabbie?
like us that much.
No, they don't.
Not necessarily us, but what about
You?
You're gonna need to stop
you wanna
raising your
catch up with the
eyebrows and
cabby-
use your words.
Is there maybe a way we could either sway or trust in me or, mesmerize someone?
I mean, well, generally, you can use a downtime activity to acquire an asset, a temporary use of an asset, like a cart like that, right?
you can also do a setup action, which will be a flashback.
Mm-hmm.
You can also just jump right into the action and then solve the problems as they come up with flashbacks in general.
Ooh.
The whole goal here is to get you into the action as quickly as possible. The reason that I'm asking the one question about loadout is it's about what you're carrying on your person when you walk into this.
Okay.
Yes. All of those things that you're asking about I think are great questions, but I think that you can figure that out as we get into the score.
Okay.
I'm just thinking that maybe I needed to take a carriage to get to, Donovan's in the first place. So maybe there was some swaying that went on already in flashback.
Okay, so we can totally do that as a flashback as a part of the score. But I'm going to bring the question back to you. What are you guys actually bringing on your person with you when you're coming?
I mean, I imagine I would still have my standard loadout of things.
Same, yeah.
That's exactly what I'm asking.
Okay.
Likewise, so my usual disguise kit and little cane sword.
Okay.
Grin's bringing his heavy weapon and his hand weapon, and he's actually going to bring his vial of rage essence just in case.
I got
I
my.
did not read that in the description. I'm very curious to what that does.
It makes me go berserk.
I suppose also I would want to use my. I picked up a doctor's coat pretty much while I was doing that last job.
That's correct.
I'd wear that and see if we can get some standard looking clothes so we don't look too out of place there.
I'd probably have my rifle on me as per usual, and probably some lore as well. I'm loaded.
Okay.
I'm loaded in my own way.
All right. So it sounds like you guys are ready to go to take down the score. I would typically roll the engagement roll, but then I would remind you that you guys still have 2 crits available to you. So why not just use that?
Yeah.
We
And
need to save at least one.
Sure, it'll carry over to the next session, but you just have those opportunities to just kind of. So what the engagement roll is, and we kind of didn't. I talked about this briefly last week, but the detail of what an engagement roll is, the first situation that you guys get into, this is the roll for what your initial position is. So you guys successfully manipulate the individual, you get the carts, that kind of a thing. That would be the use of this crit in this situation, is that you would automatically jump in, and guess what? You walked right up, you knocked the people out that you needed to knock out, and you've got the carts.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay,
that.
so we're gonna jump right into the action. You have all just approached essentially the wharf or the dock piece where the ship has essentially moored itself, and then the unloading is happening, and you're all kind of watching from a distance, and you can see that, you know, as it is the hour of wine, the fog has really kind of rolled in, and is kind of just, you know, moving, you know, casually in eddies around the feet of the dock workers as they're kind of loading all of these crates into what are essentially 3 carriages with 3 of these gigantic goats, these burden-carrying goats, and they're a little restless, but their handlers are doing quite a good job of, you know, keeping them calm and feeding them, you know, various little bits of seaweed, dried seaweed, to keep them, you know, hungry but stable, you know, in what they're doing. And so the dock workers, you know, eventually finish what they're doing, and, you know, 2 of them kind of square off at each carriage as the loading finishes and the final preparations are being made to transport them. And your friend Grin, that you contact, gives you the signal and begins to start kind of distracting them for you, and they all kind of congregate, you know, sort of down towards back where the ship is, because they're all looking at some marvel or something that's in the water, you know, that's right next to the dock, giving you the perfect opportunity to kind of just insert yourself in. And so you guys find yourself in possession of 3 carriages, fully loaded with 3 goats ready to pull. How do you guys want to proceed from here?
With style and grace.
Always. It is the phantom way.
With style and grace.
Isn't that what we have in Plentiful?
Okay, so what is your destination here for this? Where are you guys going? Where you've got these goats with these carts. You've got a window to be able to leave. Where are you taking them?
Flashback.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
Ooh. Flashback.
Hocus
Wavy lines.
negotiated a delivery address. Hocus has already worked out exactly where these are going.
Based on the previous roll?
Yeah.
Well, that would make sense. The less time that this stuff is in our possession, and the sooner we get it to the Red Sashes, the less time there is for us to get caught.
I'm confident they would have told us exactly where to take it and hand off.
Yeah, I mean, with that crit, anyways.
Okay, so yes, you are absolutely right, but because this is a flashback, we're going to call it 1 stress. Who's going to take the stress, though?
I'll take the stress.
Okay, so 1 stress to you. As a part of that correspondence, there was actually a couple of letters that went back and forth, as there was an agreed upon initial, you know, this is our gift to you, as what I'm assuming that Sky and crew want to do to begin to build this relationship with the Red Sashes. Is that correct?
Yep.
I'm looking at Speedy real quick, because I want to make sure that, because I know that Sky has his, you know, a certain particular way that he would want to approach this.
No, I think that handles it pretty well.
Okay, great. So there's an agreed upon location, actually just on the edge of the docks, the other side of the docks, which is ironically a little closer to the Crows' location of their section in Crow's Foot. But, and this is the interesting but, the information that they gave you was that they were actually pushing in that particular direction. The Red Sashes were pushing in that direction in order to be able to have a better established route to the docks themselves. So with that in mind, they're asking you to kind of bring it towards essentially the upper bridge over here to a location that's just right around here. And if you're looking at the map, I'm pinging it right now. So with that agreed upon location, Grin, you take the one stress. And how are you proceeding through the docks, the district that is the docks? Are you doing it hastily? Is this the kind of thing where you're going to be stealthing through?
I believe you said with style and grace. I believe.
With style and grace, but you could still, you could have like the goats like kind of clomping and doing a stride that really makes a lot of noise,
like an Andalusian stallion in a circus.
We're moving with purpose. We're moving with purpose, but we're not in a rush. We're not looking to attract attention, but we're making a delivery.
Yeah.
You're
We're not trying
blending
to be
in.
stealthy or hasty.
Okay, so I have one other question for you in doing this, and then I'm going to ask you guys to actually make a group roll of some kind, because I assume that at least 3 of you are going to be taking the reins of the individual goat or the individual carts with the goats on them. So I'll want some sort of question about what happens there. But will you be in any way, shape, or form going directly towards or avoiding the ambush / headquarters of the Foghounds?
Avoiding.
Yes.
Best to stay away from them for just a bit.
Just a tiny bit?
Yeah, I mean, they are planning on stealing the shipment, so...
Just a tipple.
Okay. Well, so far as I can tell, there's probably going to be 0 blood in this particular score, which is going to be really entertaining.
Oh, well.
Patience.
I shoot
Darn.
I was going to say, I would kill one of us.
Just irrationally.
The goats were witnesses.
Person on the street as you're like riding by.
I'd like to perform a drive-by.
Flip-floppity
Goes
drive.
by, you know.
Go by.
Okay, so what this sounds like is it sounds like a little bit of
No,
teamwork
no,
here.
no. Oh, God, no. All it's bang, bang. Sorry.
God damn it.
Comedy to offset the horror. That's what this is. Comedy
to offset the horror. That's correct. So
There's
so
a
it
poor
sounds
little goat herd going, Yole, no!
okay. So who is actually going to participate in this group role specifically for driving the carriages?
Hocus will be driving the middle carriage
I'm
with
driving.
his spirit mask on, posing as a whisper who's protecting the caravan.
I'm
I
driving
feel
the
like
front carriage.
Ari would never let anybody else drive her carriage. So I'll drive a third.
All right,
Okay. So who's going to drive the first one then?
I'll take the front.
I was going to say I'll drive the front, or at least sit in the front.
Yeah, you can sit
Sling's
with
probably hiding in the carriage because she doesn't really blend in anywhere. So she's just like, I'll just sit this one out. I'll just sit back here. Call me
Okay.
when you
So
need me.
So who's going to lead this? There needs to be a leader in this particular case, because what you're doing is basically coordinating or inspiring or commanding. And we're going to ask for an action roll based on that. But I need to know who's, because if there is a negative result, then that particular person takes stress.
I'll do it.
Inspiring.
And I'll use the crit that I have. The personal one.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, guys. So you're using a crit.
Mhm.
Let's have Ari and Hocus make. And what are we rolling though, guys? What are we calling this as a skill or an action?
Riding.
Is this
I suppose prowl, perhaps.
Yeah.
okay? Sure.
Yeah,
That's
try not to
probably
draw
the best
attention.
that could apply, or potentially even well, no, maybe not finesse. Finesse actually might be what applies here as well, because it says handle a vehicle or mount. So it's
Can we kind of decide? Can each of us do a different one?
sure. I'm happy. So it's Ari and Hocus, and I believe Ari hasn't actually filled out her character sheet. So let me look at something real quick there.
So
Now,
noob.
while you're looking that up,
Okay.
these goats and carriage labor critter things
Mm-hmm.
are accustomed to following one another and traveling in a line, correct?
That's correct.
Will that give us any bonuses towards keeping
That'll
them in
definitely
line?
give you 1 die bonus apiece. That's actually a really great piece of information.
Ooh.
So yeah, we're going to call that. And the situation is going to be risky though. So for whatever die roll that Hocus is going to make, whether it's finesse or it's prowl,
They're
your
both
choice.
screwed, so yeah.
So what you're gonna do is you're gonna say it's a risky situation, and I'm gonna say the effect is probably standard because either way, it could go
Either way.
I mean, it's not a situation where if you succeed, you're only going to sneak a little bit. You're actually going to get where you need to go. But if you fail, it's also going to be a situation where you're going to potentially alert somebody.
So risky, standard, and 1 bonus dice.
Die,
sorry.
It's okay.
My brain hemorrhaged for a moment there because of bang. Anyway. 2.
Hey.
Did you add the additional die there?
There's no bonus die there.
Oh, I told it.
Oh, so wait a minute. Does Hocus? Okay.
Nothing in those things.
Okay, fair enough. So it is a 2 as a result.
Oh, I didn't mean to roll anything. I'm sorry.
No, that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. You also do,
Wait.
well.
I didn't mean to
But she gets a bonus die, right? Or something?
But
I didn't mean to roll anything. I was just like, what's this? Oh.
Well, so here's the thing. I'm going to assume that she's got 2. I'm going to assume she's got 2 pips in finesse because she is a slide. Ari's a slide, right?
Yes.
Okay. So go ahead and roll me 2 additional d6s. Just 2 d6.
Oh, thank God. Okay.
Double 6s,
Okay.
please.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be. Oh, God, that was close.
And then
1 more.
Come on. Show me that 6.
That would not be a 6.
Fine.
Okay.
Oh,
So,
wow.
but still, she succeeds with that 5. She succeeds with that 5. It's only Hocus that has a little bit of a problem, but it actually works out because he's in the middle, and because somebody actually used a crit. As long as you succeed, the deal with a group action is it's only about the amount of stress that Sky actually takes based on it, and he takes 1 stress from leading and making sure that Hocus is doing correct, as Ari just kind of brings up the rear and everything looks fine. So you guys make it through the docks, and again, it's the hour of wine, so it's really quiet. There's not a lot
Just
going
past
on.
midnight.
Right, exactly. So there is a lot of fog on the ground, and you hear occasionally, some noises, off in the distance because the neighborhood the docks are rather otherwise quiet. But you kind of slink your way through, avoiding the foghounds, avoiding avoiding pretty much every other type of attention that you could garner at this point, and find yourself at the agreed upon warehouse location for the Red Sashes.
Now that I have a second to think about it, we've got these carts here. We thought that possibly they had hidden something in this cargo other than just standard supplies.
Sure.
Is it too late to say we take it back to our place first?
Flashback.
Oh, flashback.
Flashback. I'm just in this cart, not really doing much. I could have had a
True.
little gander on our way.
Okay, so the one other thing I would say about what Sky just asked about is it would be incredibly difficult to get from the docks to Night Market and then back to the docks. You would have to set up a location, which would be another flashback.
Okay.
But since Sling is kind of worming her way around the materials because she's in the back of one of these carts.
Which one?
That is a good question. That's up to her.
I'd probably be with Sky.
Oh, I was going to say,
Maybe in the first one.
I was going to say, if you were in the one with me, that's probably what caused me to screw up the thing. But carry on, sorry.
Okay, so what you're looking for anything that's out of the ordinary in respect to food provisions, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so why don't you roll us a let's see, what do we call it?
Study survey?
I would
So
say
that-
whatever floats Sling's boat better. Pick whatever skill you think is better of those two.
What is the position?
The position is going to be controlled right now, but the
Nice.
the result or the effect is going to be limited because you're only in one of the 3 carts.
Okie dokie. Do I get any bonuses for being with them?
I'm going to give you 1 bonus die for bringing it up. This will also be a flashback that costs you 0 stress because it's in an
Sweet.
incredibly controlled situation. Wow. With a limited effect, but a controlled position, you score 6. Now, you don't necessarily find anything that stands out to you that's out of the ordinary, except possibly a stash of lure.
Oh
No.
no!
Oh no!
Oh
Oh
no!
no!
Oh no.
That's the worst thing I could have found.
Okay,
Well,
okay.
You know what she would do.
But
I just want to say Sky would have considered like that there's possibly something hidden back there, and he would at the very least while we're driving turn back and ask.
Like, don't don't touch it.
Ah.
I mean, in the contract that we signed, I did say I wouldn't go to any other dealer. This isn't really a dealer. This is more of a box.
This is
It's
true.
just helping yourself. It's just helping
You
yourself.
did agree to just follow my orders though. So
Have you given me an order about
so
drug box?
Sling. Look around through all the barrels back there. Tell me what you find.
Sure. Found some food, sir. Found some provisions. Got some corn, bit of grain. Good boxes, really, sir.
And nothing out of place there. You know you got.
Yeah, I suppose out of place. Well, some of this corn, seems a bit lower grade than the others. Reckon they might be trying to swindle some people.
Excuse
That's a
me.
bit marvelous. That's a bit out of place, yes, sir.
I did tell you.
Sorry, what was that? What was that, sir? Sorry, it's hard to hear you
Is
over all the background sounds. It's a bit loud back here. You'll have to speak up.
Tell me. Oh my God! Did you find anything illicit that would be illegal to trade in this country?
What, sir? What was that? Did I find anything explicit? No, there's no strippers back here, sir. No, there's no naked people in the box, I'm afraid.
Let her have this, Speedy. Let her have this.
I'm trying real hard to just think like to not be metagaming by doing this, but I feel like Sky would realize like this is just.
Hang on. If I've taken the law out of the box, it's no longer in the box, and therefore there's
I
no
didn't
longer
say in any boxes. I said back there.
Okay, so here's the thing about this. This is a flashback, and this was Sling's flashback, and Sky coming in to ask this kind of a thing, I really feel like deserves a role in and of itself.
Okay.
Yay.
But it's not going to be Sling's because Sling has successfully done her job. She found the unusual thing in there. So I'm going to have Sky roll something. What is Sky going to roll here? Is this the kind of thing where he's looking to find out deception?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, probably. I'm looking to find out, did she find anything? It's not even a matter of like really finding deception. It's like telling her to do this.
Well, so okay, so then it becomes okay. So the Sling already made an effort to do this as a flashback.
Mm-hmm.
She's already taken the consequence, which is no stress because it's something that's incredibly easy given her position.
Mm-hmm.
She has rolled her dice and has successfully found this stuff, and now Sky is inserting himself in the situation to kind of take control of that and take control of her success. So I need some way for you to kind of either I need an explanation, or I need fate to step in at some point and kind of determine whether he is successful in doing this or not.
Well, right. Her flashback was to look through it, but honestly, I think I would have, done a flashback to tell her to do that is the thing.
Right, but that's not the way the flashback mechanic works. You have to, the success has already happened. She's already done her thing.
Right.
She's already gone through and done with that. You can't modify that result.
Right.
Well, the only thing that you can do is you can add on to it at this point with your flashback. And depending upon what you want to do here, whether it's you're going to engage her in conversation, that's not 100% a flashback. So I'm not going to charge you, or I'm not going to throw it in that sense. But I need something in order for you to add your 2 cents in respect to the mechanics of it. I don't want to remove her success from that, right?
Right.
Because she has already done this.
Right.
What she does with it is now going to be affected by this interaction. So,
I mean, did we decide on where we are delivering this right now? Are we going straight? We're going straight to the red sashes is pretty much what we're doing.
Going to
With
the
it.
previous.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
This is going well for everybody. I'm sure they won't mind if it's not there. I'm sure they won't even notice.
You know what? I asked her. Actually, I told her, tell me if you see anything strange back there.
And I told you I saw really weird corn.
I don't know if that breaks contract or not.
I'm technically not lying.
Well, if there's strange corn.
Then there is.
Is there strange
Very
corn?
strange corn.
DM?
Can I roll for strange corn?
Roll for strange corn.
Well, so again, guys, this is Sky again interjecting himself into Sling's success.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, it really is on Sky to kind of determine or to affect the situation and come at it from a way that doesn't directly take away from Sling, successfully finding something that was out of the ordinary.
Can I roll myself a sway to see if I can basically tell from what she's saying that she may have actually found something, or perhaps a study?
Sway or a study? Let me double check something real quick because I want to look at what how the action description is described comes out. So some blah, 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 change of behavior, attitudes, manipulation, or seduction. I'm going to say that this is probably the most appropriate thing.
The study?
No, sway.
Sway. Okay.
So sway is probably the most important thing. If you want to use command, that's also an opportunity where you actually know what's going on here. You know from experience essentially, and it's a judgment call essentially coming from command, but it's your choice.
I'll go with sway. And
Okay.
we say this is controlled, probably.
I'm going to say that this is a risky situation because you're distracted a little bit because of the fact that you're controlling the cards. Now, granted,
Sure.
You did get a success, and so that outcome has already been committed, right? You guys will make it to the red sashes.
Mm-hmm.
The risky part is you missing something because you're so focused on controlling that goat and getting to that red sashes location.
And you're really worried about that weird corn that I found as well. Which, I'm pretty concerned
Right,
about.
of course. In fact, standard, maybe limited.
I think this is going to be limited because this is you're essentially just trying to determine whether she is being false with you.
Mm-hmm.
You're being deceptive. You're being cagey, right?
I have an inspiration from Tall Squall that I'm going to use to add an extra bonus die.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Thanks, Tall Squall.
You're still here. I'm getting you for that on Tuesday.
5.
5. She is obviously telling you or not telling you everything, but you can't for sure from her expression tell that it's drugs.
I mean,
only
no, I
Brynn
can't tell that it's
driving.
drugs, but I know her and I know what she wants.
Well, you're absolutely right, sure, but this is the kind of situation where it's unclear that it may be something that she has found that it is not clear that it's drugs, but there's obviously something incredibly off here.
All right.
That's something you'll have to deal with.
That's
You've
fine.
known her for a day and a half.
Time is relative in this particular case. There was already a downtime, so there could have been a week or
Right.
two, in that relationship building.
We're best friends.
We'll talk more once we reach our destination, I suppose.
Sure thing, boss. You keep on keeping on, man.
And so from the middle cart, you hear, "Shh."
So that's the distraction, is that you're watching what she's doing, and that's why you did so badly and gave
Right.
Sky the stress. Okay, fair enough. Okay, so unless anybody wants to do any flashbacks, you guys have committed a successful score, and you are going to find yourself, moving essentially into payoff and downtime right now.
Yeah.
Anybody want to do anything else, or are you good with that? Because
So-
this is probably the easiest score you guys are ever going to have.
As we get there, I would like to just kind of confront Sling about what she found there.
Whatever's the matter, boss.
Okay, so we can deal with that. We can deal with that in downtime.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and say that at the end of this score, the 3 carts arrive at the agreed location for the Red Sashes. The Red Sashes have a couple of representatives and a couple of foot soldiers that are essentially there that escort you inside. There is some shaking of hands. There is an acknowledgement for Hocus for his awareness in this situation. With the particular essentially a representative that he had previously had an interaction with. So there's this positive result for all of you.
I would prefer to not have Hocus meet them.
I was
again.
gonna say that's why I'm wearing the mask.
I'm sorry. I did not realize that you were wearing a.
Yeah, well, I said that, but it was mumbled. And I have removed and stashed the brooch. So
Okay, fair enough. So the interaction basically happens with Sky for this. There's an exchange of thanks. There's a positive feeling about it, and you are promptly asked to leave so that preparations can be made for the next journey, for the next leg of this particular journey of these goods. Now, before that happens, I have one question, and that is, what happened to the drugs?
The drugs are with me.
Okay.
So I imagine there were drugs in probably all of the carts, is the thing. And or at the very least, even if I didn't think she was lying, I would have wanted to check all of the carts if we could do that before dropping it off with them.
Let's call that a flashback. Given the fact that you're on the land, but you've successfully done this, I'm going to say it's still going to cost you 1 stress because you're kind of in transit.
Okay.
But the automatic nature of this is that you're not going to have to do a roll, and you do find essentially a parcel of, or you find a crate of lure in each cart.
That's great. That's good news.
We'll have a little talk later, Sling. I see you. I mean, this will be your payment, but I would prefer to give it to you myself.
I don't know what you mean, sir. Can't wrap my young little childlike head about it. Sir.
Sure. Corn, right? Just weird corn.
Yeah. Weird, sir. You should have seen it.
Very well. We'll talk more later. But we have reached the time that is the end of the episode. So we will discuss more in downtime how what we came away with from this score and how the results of things panned out.
I came away with some drugs, so I'm happy.
Suppose.
Need a taste tester? I'm happy to be a taste tester.
You stay away from my drugs.
There's plenty of drugs to go around, ladies. Literally, like,
What
so
can
many
I
drugs.
say?
If you do
How
all of
many
these drugs, you
drugs
will die.
That is the weirdest thing I think I've ever heard you say out of context.
Someone quote that.
We have plenty of drugs, ladies.
Plenty of drugs to go around, ladies.
Yes, Johnny.
Since we're going to do downtime and payoff and all of that next week, the one thing I do want to do quickly is get you guys XP, because this is important for you to start thinking about the things that you want to take when you have enough things. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. we're gonna go through each of you very quickly, and you're gonna tell me how much XP that you guys think you got, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
All right. So why don't we go ahead and start with Sky?
Sure.
Did you make any desperate rolls with any of your? No, none at all.
No.
Okay.
Also, we should be doing this for the last score as well, right? Because we didn't.
Yes, we'll do. I'll talk about that after we get through this score because I want to make sure that we do this with this fresh in everybody's mind, kind of a thing.
Okay.
But so this also doesn't apply just to the score. This applies to the session. So things that happen during downtime. So like long-term project roles, investigation roles, any of that applies here, guys, because of the way that the descriptions are written for the XP. So if you made a desperate roll at all with any of your actions, you get 1 XP in that major attribute field, whether it's prowess, or what have you. Now, if you did multiple versions or you did multiple roles in that section of your attributes, essentially your action attributes, then you gain 2 XP. So you get a maximum of 2 for that, for multiple activities, essentially. So if you, again, made any action rolls that included a desperate position, that's when you get at least 1 XP. So other than that, did you use any playbook-specific triggers?
So for me, that's addressed a challenge with calculation or conspiracy, which I would say that just the planning of that score was kind of a calculated conspiracy type thing.
Okay.
It was, we were using subterfuge to steal these carts rather than any sort of actual conflict.
Okay, that's great. So that's definitely 1 XP there for that.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what it sounds like to me. So is that the only one that's player book specific?
Yeah, I didn't express my beliefs, drives, or heritage. Yeah, that's the only one.
You didn't express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. So your beliefs didn't come into play in the negotiation between you and Ari?
Okay, I mean, yeah, that's outside of the score, but...
Well, again, it applies to pretty much any situation that happened during a session.
Okay.
Because you don't always end on, at the end of a score, but you do get XP from a given session.
Then yes, I would say during that entire encounter, and when I was talking with the rest of the crew actually about how we offed Moon, I offed Moon. Yeah, I would say I did.
Okay, so that's going to be, I would say, since there were 2 instances of it happening, then that's 2 XP. You would earn a maximum of 2 XP for that particular. So okay. Yeah.
So that's 3 total.
And then did you struggle with your vices or traumas at all? And I don't think you did. No. So yeah, it's 3 total. Okay, who wants to go next?
I can.
Okay.
All right, let's go with
ladies first.
Let's go with Sling. Sling, did you make any desperate action rolls? So
I did.
You did?
Did I?
No.
No, I don't think I did.
Okay, there was actually a couple of desperate rolls. I'm going to go back through the list.
I don't see.
Oh no, there wasn't. I'm sorry, there wasn't one. All of them were controlled or risky.
Yep.
Today.
Okay.
We're all very cold, calculated people.
It's terrible. It's horrible for me as a GM. Okay, so the next thing is, did you use any playbook specific XP triggers?
Yes, I believe so. That's like the expressing your beliefs, drives, heritage, and/or background box, right?
Yes.
No, right before that, there should be something specific to your playbook. For mine, it's calculation conspiracy.
I don't think I did, because that's tracking and violence, and I haven't done much of that today. Other than in my training, I trained for my tracking, so I did that in my downtime.
So yes, I would assume that is at least 1 XP for you there on that.
Cool. Expressing beliefs, drives, heritage, and background. Again, downtime. I dove into my past, my old friends, my companions, my compatriots.
Okay.
My buddies, my pals, my lab.
Yep. So that's 1 XP at least in my book. So
Sweet.
Okay, so
And I think I definitely dealt with some vice issues with the drugs. Definitely.
What? No.
So the way I read this is it marked XP for this if your vice tempted you to do something due to some bad action or if a trauma condition caused trouble. Simply indulging your vice does not count as struggling with it. Okay, so this is actually really interesting because I think you nailed it with that, having to struggle with the lure being right there for you. I had misread this the first time, and so that's why I was clarifying it. So that's awesome. So that I believe that brings you up to 3 XP.
Sweet.
Excellent. All right. Who wants to go next?
Go on, Hocus.
I don't want to go anymore. Okay, fine, I will.
Unlike anybody rolled the desperate action roll, so let's go ahead and skip on to the playbook specific XP trigger.
Challenge with knowledge and arcane power. Yeah, during my downtime, did the research on my 2 the note from Chimes and going to the academy, looking at the demonology bible.
Okay, so we're going to call that 2 because you did it twice.
Okay, and expressed my beliefs, drives, and everything. And I told everybody, no, you're not coming with me. I am a courier. I need to go by myself.
Okay.
And then struggling with my vice traumas. No, not really.
Okay. That's pretty succinct. That's 3. Awesome. Good job. Ari or Grin, who wants to go next?
Grin, go ahead.
Okay. Did I address a challenge with violence or coercion? There was no violence this session. Can it be considered coercion, me talking to the guy at the docks?
Sure. It was the detail that basically affected the plan, so I'll call that.
Enabled it, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
Awesome. And then beliefs, drives, heritage, or background. I think I alluded to my beliefs drives with the history I have with the Foghounds.
Okay.
And I'm having a hard time thinking of anything else.
Wasn't there something?
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say during our first conversation when we first got to Donovan's and saw Ari, there was a point where I seem to recall Grin kind of being like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Like you were unhappy with the situation with Sky and making contracts and having all of you working for me and be disposable.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true. Okay. That brings me to 3. As for my vice or traumas, that I didn't touch on that.
Okay, that's great. So it sounds like 3 for Grin as well.
Fantastic.
Awesome. And then we're going to jump over to Ari. By the way, guys, before I forget, we'll talk about this, how these get placed on your sheets, just off screen. That way, it's just we can get through this quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll go ahead and address that at some point. So Ari, not much in your playbook, but I think that you definitely did some very interesting things in this episode.
I believe I maybe expressed either belief, drive, heritage, or background.
Okay.
There's a bit of XP and possibly addressed a challenge with deception or influence.
At the very least, knowing who each of us was.
Exactly.
Right. Absolutely.
So I think I at least used those 2.
And I also think, based on the slide, I think that you actually probably triggered a playbook's trigger as well. So I'm going to give you 3 as well on this, or we're gonna call it 3, I think, because I think you did a phenomenal job introducing yourself and kind of inserting yourself into the group really quickly in a way that I think a slide would have done. So making even Sky kind of squirm a little bit.
His own turn. It was his own turn.
It was a power move for sure.
Very much so. Very much so. And I think that even in the negotiation of the ghost contract, I think that
Oh yeah, he
she
can't
caught you
betray
off
me.
guard with
Mhm.
the terms being equal.
Hmm.
So yeah, she definitely deserves 3. So and that's it for XP for this week. So for last week, rather than trying to go back and think about what everybody did and what have you, I'm thinking that we just gloss it over and say everybody gets 2 XP for last week, and we'll just extend that to Ari as well.
Awesome.
Okay, excellent. And then so for
But I'd already put down, so
really is that
yeah.
Well, is there was something that you specifically wanted to share that was interesting about last week for you?
As much as Hocus hates looking into the ghost field while he was leaning against the building underneath Sling and watching through the ghost field, watching everybody move, and saw Grin kill those 2 guys, through everything, and then didn't, because he was being shot at and running the other way, so he didn't see Moon die, but he was looking through the ghost field to track where everybody was, so he would know when to go in and knock on the door. So that would be part of his addressing a challenge with arcane power.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's pretty damn cool. Unless anybody wants to share anything else, I'll just pass it back over to Speedy, because I think we're way over time at this point.
Yeah, well, not as over time as last week, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Moon had to die, right?
Right, yes.
That's what
We
I keep
really
hearing.
need to get there. It's important. But yeah, that is it for today. Thank you guys so much. It's been a lot of fun. Let's go around to all of our cast, and everyone can say a little bit about themselves and where you can find you on the internet. So let's go ahead and start with our DM, VideoStoreCowboy. You're muted.
As I'm muted again. Sorry about that. I'm just gonna do real quickly here so we can get going, because I'm actually getting kind of hungry and I don't want to ramble. My name's Johnny. Twitch channel is VideoStoreCowboy. I'm here on Thursdays. I'm over at Unmade Gaming on Wednesdays, running the sister crew for this. And guys, you did amazing tonight. Had a really good time. Just really enjoy all of it. And thank you, Ari, for showing up and changing the game. That was really good. And I'm going to end with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. I'll turn things over to Trendane next. Just going down the line. What did you think today, and where can I find you?
I very, very much again watching. Okay, thank you. So as I was saying, very much enjoyed today. It was delicious to watch you get a bit of comeuppance from a lovely lady. It was absolutely delightful.
None of you saw that, okay?
Sure. I was sitting right here, other end of the row from you. Okay, you're way over there. She's in the middle. I saw it. Anyway, Hocus didn't see it, but by God, I did. Anyway, so my name's Trent Sparks. I'm a professional voice actor and audiobook narrator type of person. Hopefully, right after next week, my next narration for the Escape Pod podcast will be up. I hope. Maybe. We'll see. I usually am over at Arvin Elleron's Twitch channel, where we were actually doing our ArvCon thing this week. So tomorrow we're doing radio plays for Sherlock Holmes and the Maltese Falcon. We're doing those live on the live stream, and then Sunday we have an 8-hour D&D marathon.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's going to be busy.
Sounds
Busy
good.
weekend for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Go check that out. All the links are in chat right there for Trendane and Arvin Elleron. So go follow that. Next up, let's go down the line. Madame Gandalf. My God, your character is so good. It's so good. That whole introduction, I was like, God damn it, I hate her, but I love her.
Yeah, that's definitely her goal, is you hate her, but you just can't help but love the cockiness and that comes about her. But I am Madame Gandalf. Most of you all know me here probably from Twitch. I am also a wannabe voice actress and wannabe anything, really. Everything is a wannabe for me. But yeah, you can catch me actually even later in just like 2 or 3 hours. I'll be cooking here on Twitch. And yeah, thank you very much for having me today. I had so much fun. This is ridiculously fun. I didn't I knew I was going to enjoy this because of how dark, and you actually get to play someone bad and not feel bad about being bad.
It's good to be bad.
Oh, isn't it just? Isn't it just? And yeah, thank you very much, guys, for having me and for bringing me into your world.
Of course. Thank you for being here and shaking our world. Ruining all of Sky's plans. But yeah, awesome. Go follow Madam Gandalf. She's wonderful. She came out for my 12-hour stream the other day where I was raising money for charity for my 1-year stream anniversary, and she came out with like a big old raid, and she came out with donations, and it was great.
And I forced him to sing "It's Raining Men."
You did. I did have to sing that.
Nice.
That's about when I tuned out.
My audition for The Voice is coming up soon. Let's go around next to Owlbare. Joff.
This session was amazing. I love this game. Hi, you won't often find me on Twitch. This is about it. But you can find me on Twitter, throwing dice at people and generally spouting nonsense and sharing photos of toast and tea. I'm so privileged to be surrounded by such wonderful, talented people, and I'm just incredibly grateful to be here. And Grin has been a lot of fun, and holy crap, Ari, my God.
Game changer.
But that's it. And everyone that's been watching, thank you so much. Thank you so much for supporting us by, hanging out in chat and riffing with us, and tolerating my feed, which has been full of Blades in the Dark 6 and 20 tweets and graphics. Lots of graphics, all the graphics.
All the time.
So a big heartfelt thank you for...
And remember, he's the one that did those graphics.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
we should definitely
go
highlight
follow Owlbare on Twitter. He's amazing.
Phenomenal.
He's made all of the graphics for this show, all those pictures that you've seen on Twitter, all the edited like character photos and everything like that. That was all him, and he's done a fantastic job with them without being asked, mind you. Just absolutely just killed it with everything. So
well, it's much more fun than actually working.
Fair.
It's a vice, isn't it?
And I would like to produce little bios for each of the characters. You might have seen Grin's bio go out today. I'd quite like to do that for everyone by next week.
Ooh, yeah. All right.
We'll see.
That's good. That's good for bring out all the hype.
Yeah.
But yeah, go follow him on Twitter for all of those updates. All right. Last but certainly not least, the drug addict herself, Louise.
You mean I get to talk about myself again? Wow. Okay. I've absolutely loved today. Loved last week. Loved this entire system, this entire campaign. It's amazing. I love that I get to have drugs, and I love that this went so well for me and my drugs, and it's going great for me right now. Having a good time, and I'm sure I will have no consequences from stealing drugs from them. I'm sure this is going to work out great. No problems ever. But yeah, no, you can catch me here, obviously, on Thursdays. You can catch me also on Encounter Roleplay on Tuesdays with this upstanding gentleman, Speedy himself, where I tend to get his family in trouble most of the time, and that's fun. And you can also catch me on my own Twitch at AccidentalLegend. I'm hopefully streaming tomorrow, doing some map making for D&D, because that's always fun. And on Twitter at No More No Less, where you will get more or less the best content in the world.
Wow. Did you just come up with that tagline?
But
Yes, just now.
That's beautiful. Thank you guys so much. We will be back next week with more of this. Make sure to come by Unmade Gaming's channel on Wednesday, actually. If you weren't aware, this stream, this world of 6 and 20 in Blades in the Dark is going on 2 channels. VideoStoreCowboy is DMing it over on Unmade Gaming as well on Wednesdays. And both of our stories are kind of tangential. We'll be meeting up at some point, just waiting for the proper opportunity. There were some
And-
crossovers that have occurred already.
There were plenty of crossovers that happened tonight. If you guys watched last night's episode,
I did not. It started to, and then my laptop died.
you would. Yep, exactly. So, yeah, just for your awareness, there's plenty of crossovers going on here. So
I'm gonna have to go back and watch the video because I got home at like 3 a.m. last night and I was like, the stream's still going, but I'm not coherent enough to watch it.
Also, don't forget to go and give some love to Mr. John Harper, the guy who made this
Yes.
game.
True.
Yep.
Do it in that
Jamaican.
voice as well.
And you got to do it while you're a Jamaican eating
That's
bacon.
That's right.
It's the only way.
Go show him some reggae love.
Yes.
Reggae love.
The best kind of love. Sure.
Roll with it.
Yeah, that is all we have. Me, I'm Speedy. I run NotSoSpeedRuns, and you can find me on this channel 5 nights a week, playing various games, sometimes D&D. On Sundays, I run one-shots that anyone can join. If you're interested in playing some D&D on Twitch sometime, I put a link in chat. There's a form you can fill out. It's a lot of fun. All of these guys have done it. So yeah, come out and do that. That is where we'll be ending today. We're going to end this off with a raid. And I'm going to send you guys over to another wonderful cast member from 6 and 20 over on My Gaming. We're going to go raid Miss Jinja Ninja.
oh no,
The OCOC?
That's the one.
you orange crush yourself.
Please tell me I spelled this right.
I can tell you that, but I can't guarantee that you did because I.
There we
That's
go.
right.
Yeah. Cool. So go ahead, copy and paste that thing. Slowpokes and NotSpeedRuns wandered in for a raid. We're gonna go over there, spam the Halaithe channel, show her some Blades in the Dark love,
Ooh.
and I will see you next time. Thank you guys so much. I will see you later, and as always, don't forget to take it slow. Bye.
Careless.